Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack's at Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, my friends. Today is Friday, July 31st, 2026. It's the last day of July. What? Where's the summer going? I'm not ready for the summer to be over. We're heading back for day 4 of the Massachusetts versus Lindsay Clancy trial. And the jury went on a view this morning. They went on their little field trip. They took a trip from the courthouse. They went to the CVS that Patrick went to on January 24th, 2023. And then they went to the 3V restaurant. And then they went to the home in Duxbury where the Clancys lived at the time of this tragic, horrific event and the killings of their 3 children, Cora, age 5, Dawson, age 3, and Callan, 8 months. I didn't think they were going to be back so soon, but they started a couple minutes ago, but that's okay because it gives us a couple of minutes to let people come in and to let people hit the like button, because that's what you do when you come into a stream. You got to hit the like button. It's like wiping your feet on the mat when you come into somebody's house. So don't forget to do that. If you're on replay, hit the like button as well. It helps the algorithm. It helps the world learn more about this case because more attention needs to be on this case. Because a lot of people don't even really think that postpartum psychosis is even a thing. They don't think it's a thing. And it is a thing. And I'm told that perhaps some medical testimony is going to happen today. I did see that the first witness on the stand is another first responder. So again, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to listen to. If you don't feel like you can handle it, take a break. Nothing's more important than your peace. Take a break. It's important, but it's not that important. If you can't handle it, take a break, come back later. I'm sure they're going to go to lunch at 1 o'clock anyway and come back at 2 right now. It is 11:49 a.m. here on the East Coast. Massachusetts is on East Coast time, for those of you who might not know that. And so that's what we're doing. Let's take a look. Maybe we'll do our motivational quote of the day first before we get into court. And then we're going to have some testimony. And I have some other things pulled up for us to watch during lunch. I want us to go back and watch Lindsay's original arraignment from her hospital bed. I've got that pulled up for you, and some other things. Today's motivational quote of the day for Friday, July 31st, 2026 is a quote by Langston Hughes, who said, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." I like that. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. There you go. There it is. I don't know. Focus. Doesn't want to focus. All right. As always, we also pull a badass affirmation. We've got a deck of cards here. All my props are in my Amazon storefront, which is linked underneath this video in the show notes. And they're not for things for you to buy me. They're for things for you to buy for you. All of my favorite things that I like to share because I like to share secrets. All right. So let's get our affirmation for a badass. Find a way, not an excuse. Some of us need to hear that a lot. I'm a procrastinator myself. So here's your badass affirmation of the day. Find a way, not an excuse. That's it. Just get it done. Get it done. We do it because we have to. How did you raise 5 kids? I don't know, because I had to. How did you support 5 kids? I don't know. I had to. You just have to. You got to do the things that you got to do. The only way out is through. Unfortunately for Lindsay Clancy, I think she was failed by the system. I think there are a lot of things at play here. Let's wait and hear from the hear from the experts about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, medical pharmaceuticals for these conditions that can cause drastic, horrific side effects. Ask anyone in the chat who's ever been on Seroquel what kind of side effects they had. This chat is the best on the internet. We protect it fiercely. We don't allow the hatred, vitriol, and nonsense to get in here. So it is a safe place. Another thing that would be nice is if you, I don't know, it's kind of just like YouTube courtesy, is to not, a lot of people might not know this. This may be the first trial you've ever watched. I don't know. But the families do watch the chat. They do come in and watch the comments. Think before you hit send. It is also good practice not to direct the viewers that are watching here today to other channels. It's kind of like a standard thing. And just please think before you hit send. Also, be careful what you say in the chat because YouTube has bots and the bots come through. And if they don't like what you're saying in the chat, for example, drug names, the S word for self-deletion or self-exiting, they don't like that. They don't like curse words. I try and keep it classy in here. So kindly, if you could abide by those very easy rules. Another one is just be nice or leave. Just be nice or leave. And don't be a dick, right? Don't be a dick. I mean, listen, if you want to be like that, you can go over to Law and Crime. I was watching Law and Crime this morning a little bit because I thought maybe they'd give me an indication on when court was going to start. And what is going on over there in the Wild West chat of the internet is frightening and it's disturbing. And to think that there are so many keyboard warriors who think the way that these people think it's disturbing on a lot of levels. As for me, I'm going to wait to hear the expert testimony before I decide whether or not Lindsay Clancy was suffering from a psychotic break, but at least I'm open to the possibility. Okay. The person sitting in that chair, just so everyone knows, this is the way our system works. The person sitting in that chair is innocent. That person is innocent until, if and when the prosecution can prove that that person is guilty. And that goes for every case. I don't care how you feel about the person. I don't care what you think you know about what the evidence is going to show. I don't care what inside information you think you have. And I don't care whether you don't like her facial expression. Every single defendant in the United States of America is innocent when they're sitting in that chair. Okay. And the burden of proof here is on the prosecution. This differs from many states. The prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Lindsay Clancy was not suffering from a mental disease or defect that caused her to not be able to understand her act. The burden is on the prosecution. The defense needs to prove nothing. Well, they need to prove by expert testimony their opinion that she was suffering from a mental disease or defect that prevented her from appreciating her act. But then the burden shifts to the Commonwealth, okay? Many states, other states, the burden of proof, if you're going to raise the insanity defense, is on the defense. Massachusetts is different. So what I love about this community that I have built over the last 3 years, and the 137,000 of you that choose to hit that subscribe button below, which is also free, by the way, is that you are willing to listen. You are willing to listen. You're not jumping to judgment. Things are not black and white for you. You come in here with your own personal experience and your own life experiences, and you are open. 138,000. Woo woo. Thank you. You are open to the possibilities that something else could be at play here. And I love that about you. And I love how you share your stories. And a lot of you have very personal stories that you have been sharing about your own experiences with postpartum psychosis, which differs from postpartum depression. And we're going to hear the witnesses talk about that. And a lot of the things that I'm seeing on the internet are just really, really disturbing and frightening to me on so many levels. But we have Judge Sullivan to keep us in check and balance. And I really like this judge. I like his demeanor. I like the way he runs his courtroom. And so far, so good. Okay. People have zero compassion and I have zero patience for it. I'm sorry, but I just do. Before we get started, happy anniversary to us, Bridget, you and me. 1 year, baby. We did it. Thank you for your super chat. Scarlet Mantis. You have a mother of 5. You're a mother of 5 too? Amazing. Do you have any twins? I have a set of twins. We're the greatest. We're the greatest. Thank you for your super chat. Look at Marianne coming in here with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Marianne. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. You guys are super generous, super smart, super interesting. And I love each and every one of you and all of the time that you spend with me almost every single day that we're here. Thank you so much, Marianne. Bird Mad Girl gifted 5 memberships, starting us off with a bang. And let's get into court. We're going to have some time to fast forward through lunch. Yeah, this is also misinformation. Thank you, Steph. Steph says, just coming in, I saw that Judge Sullivan denied Elizabeth Lapasada to testify, as well as a few others. Not sure if you already covered it or not. Sorry if yes. Covered it when it happened, pre-trial. He's not saying outright she cannot testify. He's saying because of the late exchange, that the defense exchanged her as an expert late, in addition to, I think, 2 other expert witnesses, he's going to hear the motion again during trial. So it was denied without prejudice. They are allowed to fight for it again. And so that is not entirely accurate, but I know that some people have been posting that on the internet and misconstruing it. So Dr. Lapasada, you may recall, testified in Karen Reed's second trial, and she's amazing. And we love her. And she takes no crap. This woman takes no crap. If you haven't seen Dr. Lapasada testify, you are going to love her, because I have a feeling that, listen, the most important thing is the constitutional right to a fair trial. The defendant is the one who holds that right to a fair trial. And so I think that this judge is going to do everything possible to ensure that she gets a fair trial, because nobody likes an appeal. It takes forever. Judges don't like to be reversed on appeal. And so I think if that issue is raised again, depending on how long the Commonwealth's case takes to put on, because remember, there's 200 witnesses on the combined list, doesn't mean they're going to call every single one of them. But initially they said this trial was going to take 4 to 6 weeks. I think it's going to be less, because they put 10 first responders on the stand yesterday and then broke at 12:30 for the entire day, because they didn't have any more witnesses to put on. So they are ahead of schedule. And I don't think it's going to be as long as they say. And so we will see. We will see. Let's get back in there. And we're not that far behind. As always, we'll modulate the volume as we go to see if we can hear everything okay. You let me know if you can hear it okay on your end. And this was about, I don't know, maybe they came back maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. Long
While we're waiting, you want to just, for the record, same objection and standing objection, so
Aye.
that keeps.
Good morning. You come right here, raise your right hand for the question.
Good morning. You solemnly swear that the testimony of the evidence you shall give
Thank you, sir. You may have a seat.
Watch your stuff here, thanks. All right, good morning, sir.
Your Honor.
All right. Attorney Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jury your first and last name, please?
Yes, Mark Anthony MAFFEO.
And how about spelling your last name for the purpose of the record?
MAFFEO.
And where are you employed, sir?
Duxbury Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
12 years.
And has your career been with the Duxbury Department, or do you work anywhere else?
I worked in Rockland and Cohasset prior to Duxbury.
So how long have you been at Duxbury Police?
9 years.
9?
Yes.
What's your current rank or assignment at the Duxbury Police Department?
Patrol Sergeant.
And I'm going to draw your attention back to January of 2023. What was your assignment then?
A detective.
Were you working on January 24th of 2023?
I was not.
Um,
I was called in to work.
okay, so who contacted you?
At the time, it was Detective Sergeant Jamali.
And is that the normal course in Duxbury when a larger incident or investigation occurs, that sometimes you'd be called in to work a scene if you're not on shift?
Yes.
And Detective Jamali, where did he tell you to go?
Initially was reported, I believe it was 42 South Summer Street in Duxbury.
And so do you recall if you went to that location?
I did.
When you arrived there, was the scene still active, meaning there were still kind of ambulances and everything on scene?
Yes.
Did you go into the house?
Not at that time, no.
Were you advised when you arrived on scene that one of the parties was being sent to the South Shore Hospital?
Yes.
And so as a result of that information, what did you do?
I was then tasked with going down to South Shore Hospital.
Now, when you went to South Shore Hospital, did you know the party that was going to be transported there?
Yes.
Who was the party that you were going to meet?
I was advised it was one of the homeowners, Lindsay Clancy.
And you later became aware that the home at 47 Summer Street was the home of Patrick and Lindsay Clancy, correct?
That's correct.
And again, you were also later made aware that they had the 3 children.
Correct.
Were you advised of where the 3 children were?
Yes,
And how about the husband? Were you advised of where Patrick Clancy was?
I was.
As far as the people transported to South Shore Hospital, you came to learn that only Lindsay Clancy was sent to that location, correct?
That's correct.
Did you expect somebody else to be arriving there?
Initially, before I had left the residence, it was a little bit of confusion. They thought that the husband was also being transported to South Shore.
And at some point, were you later advised that that ambulance was turned around and sent to Beth Israel in Plymouth?
Correct.
So when you were at the South Shore Hospital, did you have an opportunity to observe Lindsay Clancy?
I did.
And what condition was she when you observed her at South Shore Hospital?
She appeared sedated and unconscious with several lacerations to her arms and neck.
I have no objection to the photograph.
Thank you.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you 4 photographs real quick. If you could take a look at those.
Yep.
Do you recognize the individual in these photographs?
I do.
And were you present when these photographs were taken?
I don't recall.
Okay. As far as the condition that the person in these photographs was in, do you recall this to be a fair and accurate representation of what she looked like?
Yes.
I would ask to note these as the next 4
All right,
exhibits.
those may be admitted.
All right. If they show these pictures of Lindsay on the big screen, I'm going to have to minimize them because YouTube did not like them. And my stream was struck day 1 because of these photographs. And I'm not having that happen again. So. We'll see if she's going to publish them and they're going to broadcast them.
It's 110 through 113. Sir, if I could just draw your attention to the screen beside you. I'm showing you now what's been
I
marked as
can't. Okay,
exhibit
I'm taking it down
110.
for a second. Just let me know if you could still hear it.
And showing you on the screen 11. Again, is that Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And the injuries that you observed on January 24th on her neck?
No, these are the injuries to her neck. She's intubated. They said she's unconscious. She may have been in a medically induced coma. I don't know. We're going to have to wait to hear from. I'll rewind it if you didn't hear it. There wasn't that much audio behind it. Hold on. Doesn't look superficial to me, but I don't know if they would even stitch up a neck like that. I don't know. They may use tape. All right. Don't come to your screen if you don't want to see these photos. I'm going to show it very briefly.
If I could just draw your attention to the screen, the side view. I'm showing you now what's been marked as Exhibit 110, and who is the individual depicted in this photograph?
Lindsay Clancy.
And those are the injuries that you observed that day of her on her neck?
Correct.
Do that.
And showing you on the screen what's been marked as Exhibit number 111. Again, is that Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And the injuries that you observed on January 24th on her neck?
Correct.
And 112, Exhibit 112, in the middle of this photograph with an arm extended, there are some cuts in a cut in the middle.
This I definitely can't show you because for some reason the YouTube bots interpret this as me promoting someone taking their own lives by showing these photos. If you'd like to really see them yourself, go on over to Long Crime and you'll see them. But I just can't risk my stream being taken down. So I'm going to put the captions over it for now.
You observed those on January 24th as well?
I did.
That didn't help, did it?
And finally, Exhibit 113, that would be the other arm. Did you observe those cuts to that arm?
Yes.
Now, in addition to observing her at South Shore Hospital, did you do anything to collect potential evidence that day?
I did.
And what did you do?
I gathered, I believe they had been removed from the hospital staff, clothing, pants, shirt, I believe it was a scarf, and wedding bands.
Okay. May I approach again?
You may.
It's going to be interesting to see how he collected the clothing, whether he put everything in a separate bag, whether he jumbled them all up and threw them into a plastic bag if they were wet, because remember, there was snow on the ground when she went out the window. I don't call those superficial either, but remember the first responder who responded to that, she had a collar on when he first got there. There was only a small opening in the front of the collar. And so I'm going to wait to hear from the doctors on that. It also might be very difficult to do something to your own throat like that. And so maybe because she knew she couldn't get it done in time, that's when she decided to go out the window. I don't think she's going to testify, but whatever she told people at the hospital, maybe in the records, it may be admissible. So let's listen. She had moved the bed away from the window, I think.
I'm just going to show you 7 photographs if you could take a look at those. Are these 7 photographs familiar to you? Are the items depicted in these photographs familiar?
Yes.
I'd move to admit these as the next exhibits, please.
Any objection?
I have no objection to any of the photographs.
They may be admitted.
Camera panning to Lindsay. Expressionless. Hair's not covering her profile today.
117 through 120.
It should be 114.7. Thank you.
She does kind of look like she's in a trance.
Thank you, Madam Reporter.
Maybe she's medicated.
Now, sir, the items that you then collected, you said that they were provided to you. Who gave them to you?
It was one of the hospital staff.
Okay. And so in examining those, you would agree that those items have been cut off of the individual.
Correct.
And so after taking custody of those particular items, did other law enforcement arrive at South Shore Hospital?
Yes.
And who arrived?
Trooper Lawler from the Mass State Police and Officer LEPPARD from the Duxbury Police.
And again, you had been at the scene at 47 Summer Street, correct?
Correct.
And then you went to South Shore Hospital. Were other members of the Duxbury department at the Summer Street address and at other locations during the time you were at the hospital?
I would believe so, but I'm not positive.
And were you aware that the state police had become involved in this case?
Yes.
And based on your experience as a Duxbury officer, do you sometimes work in tandem with the state police on certain types of investigations?
We do.
And so when Trooper Lawler arrived at the hospital, did you turn over these items to him?
I did.
Now, in the time that you were at the South Shore Hospital, did you have the opportunity to speak at all with Lindsay Clancy?
No.
In the time that you observed her, was she responsive at all?
No.
Was she in custody at that point?
I would say yes.
Well, let me ask you this. As far as when a person is placed in custody, you usually advise them that they are, correct?
Correct.
I don't hear him saying that he's not sure. His answer was yes.
All right.
So I understand what the government.
Sustained.
When your department has somebody in custody, is it protocol to have an officer stay with that individual?
Yes.
And in this case, was somebody assigned to stay with Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
At the time you were at the hospital, was that your role?
Yes.
At some point, did someone else from your department come to keep watch?
Yes.
Who was that person?
I believe it was Officer LEPPARD. I know Officer Broderick was also assisting. I can't recall if he arrived at the hospital as well.
Okay, but you recall Officer LEPPARD?
Yes.
And once the scene was secured at South Shore Hospital, did you leave?
I did.
And where did you go?
Back to the address in Duxbury.
And that would be 47 Summer Street, correct? I think you might have said 42 at one point.
You're right. Yep. 47 Summer.
And at the residence at 47 Summer Street, did you assist other Duxbury officers in securing the scene upon the arrival of the crime scene services?
Yes.
Were you present when the Massachusetts State Police Detectives Unit executed a search warrant at 47 Summer Street?
I was.
And was that kind of later that night into the early morning hours of the 25th?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Counsel?
Will they be across? Reddington only crossed, I think, 2 of the officers yesterday. There were
That were just introduced, I'm sorry.
10 on the stand between paramedics, firefighters, and police.
Morning.
Good morning.
I've got a couple of other photographs that I'd like to, just since you were at the hospital at South Shore, if I could.
Sure.
Is that what Lindsay's condition was when you went in the hospital and saw her laying in bed?
I don't recall those being on her legs, but I'm not 100% sure. But other than that, yes.
Other than that, yes?
Correct.
So I would offer that, Your Honor, if I could.
Any objections?
May we approach?
Sure, yeah.
Why do you need to approach? You just showed a whole bunch of photos of her in the hospital that were far more graphic than that one. That one had her laying in the bed. We can FF through the break. See, now we can FF through the sidebar. Okay.
Sure, yeah, if you want to do that.
You at some point had a chance to take a look at her face, I imagine, sir.
Correct.
Is that fair and accurate depiction?
Yes.
And she was unconscious at that point, was she not?
That's correct.
About this jam.
All right, that may be admitted.
And this, you said that there was some cuts on her wrist.
Yes.
That's a fair and accurate depiction.
Correct.
and cuts on the neck as well,
Correct.
and from the other side, right from the front.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right. All right, those photos may be admitted.
More photos. They call those exhibits chalks in Massachusetts, CHALKS.
Thank you. And I'm just showing you another exhibit. This would have already been introduced into evidence, and this would be Exhibit 112. And this would also depict the area of the wrist. Is that correct?
Correct.
The cut was. Likewise, Exhibit 111 also shows the cuts on the neck. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when you went to the house, you were a detective at this point, correct?
Correct.
And obviously, you're working in tandem at this time with the state police. They were also investigating, right?
Correct.
But you were the detective for the town of Duxbury.
One of them, yes.
One of them, okay. And one of the things counsel had asked you about was the clothing that Lindsay was wearing, and it was cut off, right?
Correct.
So I'm just going to show you and ask if this appears to be a fair and accurate rendition of, for example, one of her items of clothing.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know that, so I'm just going to just make sure it's in, that's all. Does that show that there's blood on that item of clothing?
Not that I see.
Okay.
I can't tell what kind of piece of clothing that is. It's obviously cut. They had to cut it off of her. The first responders did. But I can't tell what sort of clothing that is. And I mean, it does look like there's some blood on it, but it's hard to tell.
Was there some type of residue of paint or something on the clothing, if you recall?
I don't recall, no.
No. Did you notice on the pants any blood on the jeans? Well, if you recall.
I don't recall, no.
How about the, I guess it would be the top that was worn? You notice any blood on that?
No.
Was there a bra that was cut off, if you recall?
Yes, there was.
And the blood seeped through the clothing into the bra itself? Is that correct?
Correct.
And that would be obviously from outside the clothing and then into the bra that was being worn, right?
Correct.
Off of these, Judge?
Any objection?
They're already in evidence.
Yeah.
They've been marked, so I don't see that it's necessary to mark them again. They're the same photographs.
Well, I'll trust the representation there in evidence. I don't want to
All right.
overload the court. So if they're already in evidence, then that's good
I
enough.
just
for me.
admitted them through Sergeant Murphy.
But the bottom line is that you do agree that there was certainly blood on the interior and exterior clothing that she was wearing, right?
That's correct.
You'd also agree, sir, that there was blood in the area from the outside of the backyard directly underneath the window. Is that correct? Do you agree with that if you remember looking at it?
That is correct.
Lindsay has a monitor on front of her. Lindsay has a monitor in front of her, a rather large monitor in front of her on the defense table, so she can see close up everything that's being shown on the screen.
The ground, the snow, and the leaves that were underneath, of course, there were a lot of people walking around, but you could see the blood
Correct.
directly underneath the window, right?
The back window.
You notice blood that was on the window sill itself on the second floor, one mark on that window ledge.
Yes.
You also noted blood that at some point had gone onto the two shingles that were in the area underneath that ledge, underneath that window, right?
Correct.
And off of the blood on the floor, on the ground with the EMT documents.
No objection.
All right, that may be admitted.
They didn't really show us the video, but it appears that they're in the snow. There was blood on the ground outside where Lindsay was found. They didn't really show us that photograph, though. They were focused on Lindsay the entire time.
Exhibit 126.
Thank you. Now, the state police went and got a search warrant, right?
Correct.
And you were there when they were searching.
Correct.
You guys were helping out, obviously. It was a group effort to search the house for relevant or material evidence, right?
Correct.
Now, one of the things that was seized were pill bottles, is that right?
Correct.
You know why they were seized?
I do not.
Did you seize any pill bottles?
I do not.
Were you there when the state police seized the pill bottles?
I was.
Do you recall that the pill bottles were seized from, for example, in the kitchen? You opened up a cabinet and they were right on, a bunch of them lined up on a shelf.
I can't attest to that. I wasn't
Okay.
present for that.
Why don't I ask you this? Where did they get the pill bottles from?
You'd have to ask them. I wasn't there when they seized the bottles.
You weren't there.
I wasn't in that room. We were in multiple rooms at a time.
So I may stand corrected. I'm sorry. If I thought I asked you if you were there when the state police was seizing the bottles, and I thought you said you were.
I was in the house, correct.
In the house, but
Yes.
you weren't there when they were seizing anything.
Correct.
How about up in the bedroom? Did you go up in the bedroom?
I did.
Did you observe the blood on the floor?
I did.
You observed when you went in the bedroom, it was very cold, right?
Yes,
Obviously, because the window was open, right?
correct.
And when you went into the bedroom, you made observations as a detective of certain items, such as, does this appear to be a fair, accurate rendition of the floor, blood drops on the floor?
It does.
In the bedroom.
Yes,
Showing the floor with a
This
lot
is
of blood.
Indication of the bed itself, the right side of the bed, additional blood that was located on the floor next to the boots.
yes,
Does this appear to be the nightstand that was next to the bed?
it does.
And do you see what's on top of the nightstand?
Yes.
What's on top of the nightstand?
There's 2 cups, a knife, it looks like a jar or something, and maybe a clock.
Okay, also blood drops?
Correct.
That is the knife that she used to attempt. And there's the nightstand. And if you weren't here yesterday, you missed it when Kevin Reddington whipped out the entire nightstand drawer that had a whole bunch, maybe 4 or 5 empty pill containers in it that the MSP or whoever did seize the pill bottles missed. As was her Apple Watch in there. They didn't find that either.
This is a additional photograph moving farther down towards the right side of the bed.
Correct.
This is a close-up of the knife that was on the nightstand as
Yep.
well as the,
That's a big ass knife. Mike Myers' knife is what Team Brittany said, but that's a big butcher knife.
little cup that was there and something that says deep sleep pillow spray. You see that?
Yep.
And that was on that top of the,
The irony is not lost on me that there is a cup next to the bed. It looks like one of those, I don't know, like those wine. It's like a wine shaped cup that keeps things cold. And it says on it, because kids, period. It's like a wine glass that keeps things cold, similar to like a Stanley cup, because kids.
furniture, correct?
Correct.
And this again is an area depicting various items of clothing. It looks like a little headband, a wire, perhaps to charge a phone, and blood on the floor.
Correct.
And this shows the location of the bed. Additional photograph of the blood towards the end of the bed and also the area of the window, right?
And now this photograph of the bedroom is daylight. They responded to the scene 6 p.m., around 6 p.m., January 23rd, an insulated cup. Thank you. I couldn't think of the words. And so they must have came back and taken these photos the next day because it's dark in January in Massachusetts at 6 p.m. So these must have been taken the next day or at some point thereafter. Maybe there's metadata, maybe not.
Correct.
Okay. What about for these, Judge?
No, back to that photograph.
Can I see counsel in regards?
Butcher knife, chef's knives, probably not sharp enough to do what she wanted to do with it. I don't know why he wants to see them at sidebar, but we're waiting.
I already showed this, also showing a different angle, but basically the boots that I already showed you and the blood showing that the blood kind of follows through along the edge of the bed, the furniture, and then up to the wall.
All right, he's talking, but he's not near a mic, so let me boost this a little bit. The issue with the boost is that when I boost it, it gets a little bit distorted, so we can't have both. We can't have undistorted and boost, so we got to just deal with it. I wasn't reading too much into the cup. I don't know who said that. I wasn't reading too much into it. I find it chilling. I find it chilling. That's what I meant by that. It is chilling to see that there.
Just for continuity, this also showing a different angle, but basically the boots that I already showed you and the blood showing that the blood kind of follows through along the edge of the bed, the furniture, and then up to the wall.
Correct.
Was there also, like, if you recall, one of those full-length mirrors?
I don't recall.
No. I don't.
All right. Any objection on that? All right, those pictures may be admitted.
We found the volume.
So you had nothing to do?
Hold on a second, counsel.
Sorry.
Just gonna mark these.
It's 127 through 135. So mark.
So you had nothing to do with the seizure of any of the pill bottles, sir?
Correct.
And you don't have a memory of looking in the cabinet in the kitchen and seeing a number of journals or spiral-bound notebooks and books?
Correct.
Was that pretty much the extent of your involvement with this case that night?
That night, yes.
And you really didn't get involved with any further investigation on this matter as far as seizing evidence, except for what you testified to, right?
We did seize, I located a laptop in the hallway closet,
Okay,
and that was, I believe, seized by the state police as well.
okay. Anything else you recall? How about, do you remember when you guys were searching or you watched the state police searching, did they open up drawer to the nightstand that was next to the bed with a number of pill bottles in it?
Again, I wasn't present when that was taken, so I can't attest to that.
He's got the drawer in his hands. He really wants to show him the drawer with all the pill bottles in it, but he's making sure the camera sees it.
Again, I wasn't present when that was taken, so I can't attest to that.
How about Apple Watch, no?
I don't recall.
Attorney Buckingham, can you redirect?
Briefly.
Sure.
Sir, when you were at the hospital with Lindsay Clancy, with the defendant, were the medical staff in the emergency department actively treating the wounds to her neck and her wrists?
No, they were not.
And when you came back to the home at 47 Summer Street to secure the scene and wait for crime scene services, nobody went into the house that didn't need to be there before crime scene services, correct?
Correct.
In your experience, is that normal?
Yes.
And so were you present when any of the photographs that were shown to you by defense counsel were taken?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So your testimony today about those photos is your best memory of what the scene looked like at that
That's
time?
correct. Yes.
And as far as your role in the search warrant execution, fair to say there were quite a number of state police, Duxbury officers, as well as crime scene troopers on scene in the house during that. And each person, did they have their own kind of role in what they were doing?
Correct.
And did you kind of stay to your area?
Yes.
And you indicated that you only found a laptop in the first floor closet, correct?
Correct.
And so any of the other manners in which the rooms were searched, you were not a part of?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
You didn't have to stay to your area as a detective in the Duxbury Police Department, did you?
Correct.
So you were able to go and assist with the search and go into the different rooms and look for potential evidence, right?
That's correct.
And do you remember approximately how many Duxbury police officers were in or about the house, either outside, on the porch, on the deck, in the house, downstairs, upstairs?
I don't.
Would it be more than 10?
No, I wouldn't say more than 10.
How about state police? You remember how many there were of them?
No.
So all told, when you consider that, the sheriff's department wasn't there too, were they, if you recall?
No,
Okay.
they were
Sometimes
not.
they send them to take pictures.
No.
I don't know if they, okay. Would you agree that there were probably more than 10 officers from state police and Duxbury police that would be doing this investigation?
Correct.
All right. A number of police cruisers, and then you have perhaps, just asking, the yellow tape,
Yes.
crime scene, don't pass it and all that.
Correct.
Now, if I was, for example, to show up and pull up in my car and get out, and they're not going to let me wander in the house and look around, are they?
Correct.
I mean, that's just for law enforcement officers only until they clear the scene.
Correct.
That's after they execute their search warrants and find whatever evidence is relevant, in their opinion,
Correct.
that they seize, right?
Yes.
Once the scene is clear, then people are able to go back into the home, right?
Right.
And you don't know, I would imagine, when they cleared the scene.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything on that?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your
Sit down.
Honor.
Thank you. Tree Buckingham.
Oh, Richard LePard.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
All right. Tree Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
Richard LEPPARD,
And can you spell your last name for the record?
LIPPARD.
And how are you employed?
I work for the Duxbury Police Department.
And how long have you been a police officer?
6.5 years,
Have you worked for Duxbury the entire time, or did you work someplace else?
the entire time.
What's your current assignment at the Duxbury Police?
Patrolman.
Back in January of 2023, were you also on patrol then?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working the day of January 24th, 2023?
Yes.
At some point while you were on shift that day, were you asked to assist in an ongoing investigation for an incident that occurred at 47 Summer Street in Duxbury?
Yes. I was called back in.
You were called back in?
Yep.
Had you finished your shift?
Yes, ma'am.
And so where were you asked to go?
To the police department.
When you came to the police department, where did they direct you to go as far as the investigation went?
South Shore Hospital in Weymouth.
And so when you arrived at South Shore Hospital, was there already another Duxbury officer there?
Detective MAFFEO was there.
Okay. And what was the purpose of you going to South Shore Hospital?
To overwatch the person in custody.
Okay. And did you learn who that person was?
Yes.
And fair to say that individual was a woman by the name of Lindsay Clancy, correct?
Yes.
What were your observations of her when you were at South Shore Hospital?
She seemed to be sedated, not speaking or anything on the hospital bed, just laying there.
And excuse me, when you were there or during the time that you were there, did you ever have any conversation with her?
No.
Did she remain unresponsive during the time that you were there?
Yes.
And were you also there when somebody came in and took some photographs of her?
I do not recall.
Were medical staff tending to her during the time that you were with her?
Yes.
Where in the South Shore Hospital was this? The emergency department or someplace else?
Emergency department.
And shortly after you were there observing her, did she or did the doctors indicate she was going to be transported someplace else?
Yes.
Where was she going to go?
That she was going to be med flighted to the Brigham in Boston.
And other than yourself or other law enforcement and medical staff, did anyone speak with her at the South Shore Hospital?
No.
And when you, when she was transported to the hospital in Boston, did you go along with the transport?
Yes.
Do you remember how she was transported?
It was a med flight helicopter.
So you rode in the helicopter with her?
Yes.
And when you arrived at the Brigham,
So just let me get this straight. First of all, for how long are you considered a rookie, Scott? He's 3 years on the job. He's young. At the time of this incident, he was 3 years on the job. He's never going to forget this. He seems very nervous. He's very polite. Makes a great appearance. The prosecution is on the one hand telling us her injuries weren't very serious because this was only a half-assed attempt to kill herself. She really didn't want to. She just went out the window like Spider-Man. And yet she's med-flighted in a helicopter, from South Shore Hospital to Brigham. Shout out to the nurses who were on strike, however many weeks ago that was at Brigham. But it wasn't important. You know, her injuries weren't very bad. Okay.
in Boston, where did she go there?
She went to the emergency room.
Did you remain with her during that time period?
Correct.
And was there anyone else with you at the Brigham with her?
Officer Broderick.
And so the two of you were, what was your role?
Just to overwatch and stay with her.
At any point when you were with her at the Brigham, did she ever, was she ever awake or responsive?
No, not to my knowledge.
And how long were you at the Brigham with her?
About 15 to 16 hours.
Okay, so fair to say it was over the course of that night into the next morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Over the course of the night into the next morning, do you observe her medical status change?
There was some type of medical code during the nighttime. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay, but you were present in the room when that happened?
Yes, we were outside the room.
Outside?
Yep.
And the next morning, when your shift concluded, did somebody else from the Duxbury Police Department come and relieve you?
Yes.
During the time that you were there, did anyone besides medical staff or the law enforcement officers that you were with interact with the defendant?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
There was a code, but she's going to just blow by that. Notice? Notice? I did.
Mr. Reddington.
He was guarding the door.
Morning.
Afternoon. So, young man working for the town of Duxbury, and you were detailed to the home initially, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't go to the house at all?
No, sir.
Okay, you went directly to South Shore.
Correct.
And when you were at South Shore, your purpose was to, as you say, overwatch. Well, that basically is she was in custody at that point, right?
Correct.
So one of your obligations is to, I guess, guard the unconscious person and make sure to do what? Just to stand there?
Correct.
Okay. And you did in the South Shore Hospital, right?
Yes, sir.
And you made your observations of her, bandaged or whatever, laying in the bed, and she was not conscious, correct?
Correct.
And at some point, the decision was made medically that they were going to have her med-flighted to the Boston Hospital, Brigham and Women's, right?
Correct.
And that was by way of the helicopter.
Yes, sir.
You had a helicopter ride into Boston with her, right?
Yes, sir.
You were overwatching her in the helicopter again, right?
Yes, sir.
She still had not gained consciousness at all.
Correct.
She wasn't talking to you or medical staff or anybody, right?
Correct.
She was already had the tubes and stuff in her mouth coming out, and she was bandaged up and wrapped up and basically laying down in the gurney in the helicopter, right?
Yes, sir.
So when she gets to Brigham and Women's Hospital, they bring her into the emergency room, right?
Yes.
And that room was loaded with equipment, boxes, wires, tubes, buzzing, beeps, lights, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
Life-saving equipment that was in there, right?
Yes.
Very small room, wasn't it?
Yes.
Kind of hard to maneuver.
There was enough space for the medical staff to maneuver.
All right. And how many police officers were overwatching the unconscious person while she was in the emergency room at Brigham and Women?
2.
That would be you and the other officer from Duxbury.
Yes, sir.
At what point did the state police officers arrive in the hospital?
I don't recall them coming to the hospital.
Did you ever see state police in the hospital?
Possibly at South Shore Hospital, but not in Boston.
So you're in Brigham and Women's, off of the helicopter into the emergency room for a day, is that correct?
Correct. 16 hours.
Did you go back there again after that day?
To South Shore Hospital?
No, Brigham and Women's Hospital.
No.
So you're limited to the time that you were there as to you and your brother officer were there in the room with her, correct?
Yes.
And a number of nurses and doctors, right?
Yes.
Fair to say it was chaos. It was like bedlam in that room, wasn't it?
Yes, very busy.
And you don't remember any other police officers? How about internal police officers from Brigham and Women's Hospital? Do you recall them being there?
There may have been security, but I do not recall.
So is it your testimony that you do not recall any other police being in that room or outside the room when you were there?
Correct.
Now, at some point, police were detailed, if you know, to sit outside the room to guard the door. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were you guarding against?
Objection.
No, overall.
Anybody coming to visit?
Right, because nobody was allowed to visit, right?
Correct.
Well, that's interesting. Scott says it's standard operating procedure that he would be guarding the door. I forget exactly what you just said, that there would be at least be one guarding the door. Somebody said for the safety of herself and others, but he's saying to make sure that nobody came in the room. Nobody was allowed to come in the room because remember, I think it was during his opening, he was talking, Kevin Reddington was talking about how he couldn't even get in to see his own client for like at least a week or something like that. Everyone smash the like button right now while you're thinking of it. Thank you. Taking that back.
Objection.
No, overall.
Anybody coming to visit?
Right, because nobody was allowed to visit, right?
Correct.
And then while you were there in the early morning hours, about 2:24 or something like that, there was, as you said to the jury, a code, right?
Yes.
And again, that kind of amped up the bedlam at that point, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
There were people running from all over, and you could hear on the microphone, code blue, with the room being identified, right?
Yes.
And that meant that she was dead or dying, right?
Yes.
She was chained to the hospital bed too, wasn't she?
I do not recall her being handcuffed.
You don't?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you recall when you left?
The Brigham, sir?
Yes.
He said code blue, not code red. He said code blue. Nobody wishes that she was dead more than Lindsay Clancy. Listening to this, she must just be like, oh, why didn't they just let me go? I wonder if she had a DNR. Hear that again.
Your code, right?
Yes.
And again, that kind of amped up the bedlam at that point, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
There were people running from all over, and you could hear on the microphone, code blue, with the room being identified, right?
Yes.
And that meant that she was dead or dying, right?
Yes.
She was chained to the hospital bed too, wasn't she?
Cardiac arrest is what it means. Where am I? Nurses in the chat. Doctors in the chat.
I do not recall her being handcuffed.
You don't?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you recall when you left?
The Brigham, sir?
Yes.
The next morning around 10, from what I remember.
Okay. And you were relieved by who?
Officer Daly from the Duxbury Police Department and Officer Johnson from the Duxbury Police Department.
All right, so you've got 2 Duxbury police officers. And there, to your memory, were there any other law enforcement officers?
Not with them, no.
How about on their own? Did you observe other law enforcement officers come in that room or outside the room?
No, sir.
And then that was the end of your shift and you left?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Counsel, anything further?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You sit down. Thank you.
Okay. 2 down.
Commonwealth calls Dr. Mark Tenerowicz.
Okay. Here comes some medical testimony. We're going to hear some medical testimony now. So if your mind has started to wander, come back. This is going to be very important stuff. I hope she's done with first responders. And now we're going to move into medical.
Circumstances and just for the record, Your Honor, I'm just voting object to this with grieving circumstances and.
Do you want to go to sidebar?
Yeah, please. Would you?
He said, just for the record, I object to this. And then it sounded like he said grieving circumstances. Not sure what that means. And I'm not sure if I heard him right. That's what the captions picked up as well. But they're at sidebar now discussing this.
Attorney Sprague, I'm sorry. All right. Attorney Sprague, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, you think you thought he said breathing or something? Okay. I don't know.
All right, good afternoon, Doc.
If I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Mark Joseph Tenerowicz, Markjoseph Tenerowicz.
And what is your date of birth, sir?
2/28/69.
What do you do for a living?
I was an emergency physician. I'm currently not acting as an emergency physician.
What do you currently do?
I do disability review for the state of Rhode Island.
And so directing your attention back to January of 2023, were you an emergency room physician at that time?
Yes, I was.
And where did you work?
Beth Israel Deaconess, Plymouth.
And could you briefly describe for the jurors your educational background and the training that you underwent to qualify to be an emergency room physician?
I did my undergraduate education at Trinity College. I did a 1-year post-baccalaureate pre-medical program at Bryn Mawr College. I then got my medical degree from Brown University, and I did my residency in emergency medicine at UMass Memorial in Worcester.
And when you
Shout out to Trinity in Hartford, where both Tom Kokonowski and I did our freshman year. He stayed. I didn't. I transferred to Boulder. Shout out to Trinity College in Hartford and Brown and UMass. Here we go. We haven't heard about Beth Israel yet, so she's kind of jumping around in time now.
finished your education and training, did you work in emergency care after that point up until you changed positions?
I worked in emergency medicine from 1997 until May of 2025.
And directing your attention to January 24th, 2023, were you working in the evening hours that day?
I was.
And at some point in time, did you treat a child named Dawson Clancy?
Yes.
How did he arrive at the hospital?
He arrived by fire department ambulance.
And when he arrived, were you given a summary of his injuries by emergency personnel?
Yes.
What did you learn at that time?
I was told that he reportedly had been strangled and he was found without a pulse and not breathing.
And what observations did you make of Dawson yourself?
When he arrived, he had a breathing tube in. They had placed a device into the bone of his leg to give him intravenous fluids and medicines. CPR was in progress. He was not breathing on his own and he had no pulse and was not responding.
And did you observe any trauma to his body?
I believe there were some old appearing bruises on his legs and there was some ruptured blood vessels on his face.
And did you observe anything in the area of his neck?
Not that I can recall.
And
he didn't notice any injuries to his neck? But old bruising on his legs? Huh. Hold on. I'm going to take that back. This is traumatizing testimony. If you don't want to hear it, walk away right now. No pulse, not breathing. Now his observations. Here we go.
He had a breathing tube in. They had placed a device into the bone of his leg to give him intravenous fluids and medicines. CPR was in progress. He was not breathing on his own, and he had no pulse and was not responding.
And after, strike that, did you observe any trauma to his body?
I believe there were some old appearing bruises on his legs, and there was some ruptured blood vessels on his face.
And did you observe anything in the area of his neck?
Not that I can recall.
And what did you do to treat Dawson?
We continued CPR. We continued to give him IV fluids. We gave him doses of adrenaline to try and restart his heart. We confirmed that the breathing tube was in the right position. We eventually gave medicines to treat the presumed acid buildup in his blood. We gave him calcium to make sure that his heart would, if it started again, would beat effectively. And that's what we did.
And how did you go about making sure that the breathing apparatus was in place properly?
Basically 4 ways. We detected carbon dioxide in the air coming out of his lungs, which usually just comes from the lungs. I listened and could hear breath sounds. I looked with a video laryngoscope to confirm that the tube was between the vocal cords going into the lungs, and we did an x-ray.
And when you say you were hearing breath sounds, was that him breathing on his own or something else breathing for him?
That it was someone breathing for him, squeezing the bag attached to the breathing tube.
Okay. And so that the breath sounds you heard just confirmed that whoever was squeezing the bag valve mask, the air from that was going into the lungs and then carbon dioxide was coming out?
He was not breathing spontaneously.
Okay. And are you, while all of this is happening, are you continuing to assess him and his condition?
Yes.
And what were your assessments?
So we would stop periodically every several minutes to very briefly check to see if he was breathing on his own or if he had a pulse. And he was not at any point. At one point, towards the end of the resuscitation, I used an ultrasound to determine if his heart was beating effectively, and there was no evidence of that.
Okay. And based on your training and experience, at some point in time, did you make a determination that your efforts weren't going to be successful?
I did, based on the time from when resuscitative efforts started in the field by the paramedics and the time that we put in, and the fact that despite the best resuscitative efforts we could, the fluids, the medicines, the CPR, breathing for him, it did not look like his heart would ever start again.
Approximately how long did you and your team work on Dawson?
I believe we worked on Dawson about 40 minutes in addition to what the paramedics had done previously.
At any point in time, did you try to use a defibrillator?
I did not.
And why is that?
He was unfortunately never in a heart rhythm that would have made defibrillation an effective treatment.
So your heart has to be in a certain condition for a defibrillator to even work?
Yes, there are 2 heart rhythms, basically equivalent of the heart, that if you use a defibrillator, you can restore a rhythm that makes the heart beat effectively. He was never in one of those rhythms.
And at some point in time, did you declare Dawson deceased?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall when that was?
I believe from my review of the records recently, it was at 1928.
In 1928, would that be 7:28 p.m.?
That's correct.
Thank you, doctor.
Mr. Reddington.
Good afternoon. You indicated that you observed what appeared to be older bruises to his legs, his lower
Yes.
legs, that like shin area? That area?
Yes.
And you also had an interosseous device, I think, is that what you said?
Yes, he did.
And that would require inserting a needle or something into the actual shin bone area?
Yes, into the tibia.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
All right. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
I was hoping he would.
Call Dr. Benjamin Kaufman.
I was hoping he would address the bruises because a lot of you in the chat were like, were they trying to suggest previous abuse? Listen, little boys have bruises all over their legs from all kinds of things. They're climbers. Sounds like he was a very active kid. But that's also where they put the IO, is in the tibia. So I'm glad that he cleared it up.
I do. Thank you, sir. You may take a seat. Watch yourself, please.
Boys of all ages in general. Yeah, you're right.
All right, good
Girls
afternoon,
too.
Doctor.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I'd like to just note the same objection.
Same ruling.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
It's Benjamin Kaufman, Benjamin Kaufman.
And your date of birth, sir?
Please.
September 10th, 1984.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an emergency medicine doctor.
How long have you been doing that?
About 12 years.
Could you briefly describe for the jurors your educational and training background that qualifies you for that role?
Yeah, I went to Boston University for medical school, and then Kings County for residency training, and then Columbia for fellowship in global emergency medicine.
And where do you currently work?
Beth, Israel, and Plymouth.
And back in January of 2023, did you work there?
I did.
And specifically on January 24th, 2023, were you working that evening?
I was.
And while you were working that evening, did you treat a patient named Callan Clancy?
Yes, that was my patient.
And do you recall how he arrived at the hospital?
Yes, with the EMS, with CPR ongoing.
And is it typical that when EMS arrive with a patient, they give you kind of a summary or a rundown of the patient's condition?
It is.
And did they give you that rundown on Callan's condition?
They did.
Camera is back, focusing on Lindsay. This time her hair is blocking her face. She's in profile. She's got her hand to her head. Unclear if she's crying or not. Looks like she might be. And so we're not looking at Dr. Kaufman at this moment.
At the time, his heart had stopped and CPR was ongoing, and he was not breathing. He was receiving breaths via bag valve mask ventilation.
She's crying now.
And
You can see her shoulders.
what did you do in terms of treating Callan?
So as soon as he came in, basically we put in a breathing tube, and we were able to get an IV established. The first thing that we do is give a dose of epinephrine. And in this case, you can look directly at the heart with an ultrasound, and his heart started beating after we were able to give that dose. At that point, we continued compressions, continued giving him breaths through the breathing tube. And Plymouth Hospital does not have pediatrics or the ability to care for that level of pediatric patients. So we're on the phone with Boston Children's Hospital, making preparations basically to get him to the more definitive care.
And about how long into your care of Callan did he regain a heartbeat?
Probably from the time that he got to the ER, maybe like 10 minutes or so, I'm guessing.
At any point in time, did he regain the ability to breathe on his own while he was in your care?
No.
Did you do any examination or testing to determine Callan's brain function?
So at no point did he exhibit any brain function. I'm not like a neurologist, so we are not the definitive person, but in emergency medicine, there's a scale called the Glasgow Coma Scale, which is generally from 3 to 15. There's different variations for pediatrics, but he scored the lowest, which basically is you're in a coma or have no brain response during the entire time that he was in my care.
So on that scale, the 3 to 15, 15, would that be someone who's walking and talking and acting normally?
That's correct.
And a 3, is that someone with no brain function?
That is correct.
And you testified that Callan was at a 3 when you treated him?
At no time.
And at some point in time.
Yes, it is the Glasgow Coma Score. It's not the Guzma Coma Score. It is the Glasgow Coma Score. It's a bad time for a joke. We need a break sometimes. Camera's been on Lindsay this whole time. She's heaving. She's sobbing. Her shoulders are moving up and down. Kevin Reddington, staring straight ahead at the witness. For those of you who can't come to your screen, that is what you're missing right now.
Was it decided to transfer his care to Boston Children's Hospital?
Yes, we were in contact with him basically immediately, and then he was flown by helicopter to Boston Children's Hospital, and the whole time the ICU doctors were on the phone reviewing the case and making recommendations.
And at any point in time, to your knowledge, from the time he entered the emergency department at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth until he arrived at Boston Children's Hospital, was he able to breathe on his own?
No.
Thank you, doctor.
All right, counsel.
I have no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, doctor.
It's my understanding that he did live for 3 days. He was airlifted to Boston Children's Hospital. And since this doctor is not a doctor at Boston Children's Hospital, he was at Beth Israel. Callan never regained any brain activity at all. He was a 3 on the Glasgow coma score. And I do not know when he was pronounced, but when we hear from someone at Boston Children's, we will find out. The judge has no control over where the camera is. As long as they don't photograph the jurors, it is the cameraman's decision on where to focus.
Attorney Buckingham.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth would call Melissa Arcadipane.
Hi, good afternoon. Attorney Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
Melissa Arcadipane.
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Arcadipane.
And did you work for South Shore Hospital?
Yes.
And what was your role at South Shore Hospital?
My last role was a supervisor of the specimen processing department in the laboratory.
And do you still work in that role?
No.
Back in 2023, specifically January, were you in that role?
Yes.
And how long had you worked for, or have you worked for South Shore Hospital over the course of the years?
Over 20 years.
You said that you were the specimen processing supervisor?
Correct.
What are the general responsibilities for that role?
Overseeing the department where all of the specimens from within the hospital and even outside of the hospital will come in through that department to be received, checked, make sure they have orders, make sure they're collected in the correct tube.
And the laboratory at South Shore Hospital is responsible for processing blood samples, urine samples that come from other areas of the hospital, correct?
Correct.
So can you just generally tell us how a blood or urine sample would come from the emergency department at South Shore Hospital to the laboratory?
So in most cases, blood sample or urine will come through a pneumatic tube system from the emergency room. They'll put it in a tube, hit a button, and it will come over to the lab, which was across the street. And we would take it out of that canister and process it at that point.
And the specimens that are collected in a place like the emergency department are done by a nurse or technician who takes the samples, puts them in the appropriate vial or tube, and labels them, correct?
Correct.
And so when they come to you through that pneumatic system, what does your laboratory do with the samples?
Well, we check the sample, make sure it's labeled, make sure it's in the correct tube, and then we would process it.
And traditionally, would your laboratory receive several samples, meaning several vials of blood or urine from one patient?
They could, yes.
And as far as the orders for testing, you at the laboratory would only run particular tests that are ordered by a physician, correct?
Correct.
Does that usually consume the whole sample that you receive from the emergency department?
Not always, no.
And so would it be a common procedure that samples from a particular patient would be retained in case additional testing needed to be done?
Yes.
And working in the lab as the specimen processing supervisor, are you familiar with what is referred to as a preservation notice?
I am.
What do you know that to be?
So that is a notice that we would receive from a law enforcement agency asking us to hold specific samples for a particular patient.
And what would your laboratory do when you receive a preservation notice for a particular patient?
So the samples would be pulled aside, they would be put in a specimen bag. A copy of that preservation notice gets put in the bag with the samples, and it is put in a separate bin within the specimen refrigerator.
And the specimen refrigerator, is that a place that specimens are stored until they're either used or discarded?
Correct.
And does that preserve the specimen?
Well,
Meaning
they need to be refrigerated. So, but we separate those specimens that potentially could be needed elsewhere into a separate spot so that they don't get discarded.
Now, were you aware that a preservation notice had been served on South Shore Hospital for the blood and urine of Lindsay Clancy on January 24th, 2023?
I was.
And were those samples of blood and urine collected in the same manner you just described and put in a separate bin?
Yes.
And on January 31st, 2023, did you have the opportunity to interact with a trooper from the Massachusetts State Police?
I did.
And what was that interaction? Can you describe it to us?
He came with a warrant to collect the specimens.
And so did you collect the specimens?
Hold on a second. Did she say January 21st? Thank you for letting me know. I put the captions in front of the photos intentionally. You must be behind in the stream, because last time the photos were shown, my stream was taken down or stricken for not being friendly to advertisers, and that shadow bans the video and it doesn't get pulled out. So that was intentional. Thank you, though. Sounded like she said January 21st, which would be impossible because this occurred on January 23rd. Hold on.
For the blood and urine of Lindsay Clancy on January 24th, 2023?
Oh, 24th. Okay. I stand corrected. She did say January 24th, 2023. That was the day. This is the first hospital that Lindsay was brought to before she was airlifted.
And were those samples of blood and urine collected in the same manner you just described and put in a separate bin?
Yes.
And on January 31st, 2023, did you have the opportunity to interact with a trooper from the Massachusetts State Police?
It sounded like she said January 21st that time. Is she getting the date wrong? Am I mishearing this? These are important dates.
Did you have the opportunity? And on January 31st, 2023,
31st.
did you?
I'm mishearing it. It's January 31st. She spoke to somebody from the MSP. I just want to make sure everything's correct.
Have the opportunity to interact with a trooper from the Massachusetts State Police?
I did.
And what was that interaction? Can you describe it to us?
He came with a warrant to collect the specimens.
And so did you collect the specimens that were labeled for Lindsay Clancy?
I did. Somebody had already put them in that bin in a bag, so I just went to the bin, retrieved them, made sure they were hers, and gave them to the officer.
And in fact, you handed over 6 vials of blood and 1 vial of urine to the trooper on that day, correct?
I don't remember the exact samples or sample type that I handed over, but I do know that I gave him samples.
Okay. And as far as your memory, you recall that you double checked the ID label on the items to make sure that they belong to Lindsay Clancy, correct?
Definitely.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Counsel?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
No questions. No cross. Chain of custody. Establishing chain of custody. Someone else will testify about the results.
At this time, the Commonwealth would move to submit the certified medical records from Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth for Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy in one binder.
No objection.
All right. They may be admitted.
You could approach sidebar.
Yes.
Somebody said it's her Boston accent. We're going to FF. Okay.
Listen, jury, in talking to counsel, we are going to break for today. All right? What I was talking about over here is in regards to the schedule where we are. We are, if not on schedule, at a schedule. All right. And much
Breaking for the day, sending the jury home because they're ahead of schedule at 1 p.m. on a Friday. Let's see if they're going to do any motions or anything. Let's stay tuned, because after this, I want to watch with you Lindsay's hospital bed arraignment.
is because of the work when you're not here, council's going over some of the exhibits and some of that. And that's part of some of these breaks, at least for you. All right. So I just kind of want to let you know that's what's going on. So I'm gonna excuse you. I know it's been a long week anyway. So we're gonna take a break till Monday. All right. And on Monday, the schedule anticipation will start about 9, maybe a little bit later than that. But I ask you to be here ready to go at 9. There's some matters I may have to talk to council, so it might give a little bit late start for you on Monday. And then the anticipations will go most of the day. All right. Like I said, we are well on schedule, if not ahead. What I want to remind you now, which you know I'm going to remind you, that you're going to be not here for a couple of days. It's very important. You've heard some of the evidence. You haven't heard all of the evidence. All right. You haven't heard the law that you will apply to this. So you have to keep an open mind. And the best way to do that is don't talk about this with anyone. Don't do any research. Don't watch anything. If something comes on, turn it off. And just like I said, if you're talking to somebody, brings up, blame me. All right. The judge said, I am not to talk about it. I'm not to listen to anybody talking about this and shut them down right away. I appreciate all the work that you've put in here so far. I look forward to seeing you on Monday. I hope you have a nice weekend, and we'll see you then. All right. Thank you.
Court, all rise. Good. Those in notebooks, please place them on the chairs.
Remember, they also had the view this morning. They went on their field trip this morning to the CVS and to the restaurant and to the house. They toured the house, outside, inside, basement. Can still see Lindsay's shoulders shaking.
All right. Anything else we need to address before Monday morning? Counsel?
No, thank you.
All right. So we'll be in recess on this matter until Monday morning at 9 o'clock. We'll resume the trial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Court, all rise.
I mean, Commonwealth probably had no more witnesses scheduled for today, but I don't know.
Court's in recess. Please exit the court.
We saw this a lot in the Karen retrial. You know, it's go to Cape Fridays. I don't know. If you were on the jury, would you be mad? Oh, somebody says, I read that part of the short court schedule is for Lindsay's medical needs, positional skin pressure care, bathroom breaks, etc. I don't know about that. I haven't heard that. And I don't know about that. I think they just didn't have any more witnesses. Kevin Reddington is not crossing any of the witnesses. They got through 10 witnesses yesterday and broke somewhere around 12:30. There was no court on Tuesday. I understand somebody had a funeral. And so that is why there was no court on Tuesday. Yesterday was a half a day. Wednesday was a full day. I remember because we had 2 sessions, but there was a 2-hour lunch in there and a very long break in the morning. Some of that may be for Lindsay's medical needs, and then today it's a half day and the jury's out of there by 1:15 p.m. Let's take a look at some of these questions and super chats. And then I would like to show you something really interesting that a viewer sent me regarding that Wikipedia page. Remember the Wikipedia page regarding Thomas Hall? I want to show you something in real time. I'm going to be like Ian Whiffen doing a real-time demonstration for you right here. And mind-blowing. Hold on one second. Thank you, Betsy, for your Venmo, XOXO. My dog named Bing says, if Lindsay I was going to bring this up. Great minds. If Lindsay succeeded in taking her own life, no one would question her postpartum psychosis. It's so sad. My heart hurts for the whole situation. Isn't that the truth, though? If Lindsay committed these acts like she did, because we know she did, she admitted to it, not for purposes of this trial, but pre-trial, nobody would question that she was suffering from a psychotic break, right? But because she did not succeed and did not code, and I'm dying to know from a doctor who treated her whether they brought her back after she coded. I want to know if she has a DNR. I want to know if she had a DNR. A lot of things. There's a lot of unanswered questions for me. But they drove by the CVS. They didn't go in the CVS. They drove by. Same with the restaurant. If she succeeded, nobody would be questioning her postpartum psychosis, and this would be a very different conversation. In my opinion, very different conversation. Why Say My Name says, if Lindsay was successful, I wonder if the prosecution would have focused their efforts on Patrick. Listen, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about Patrick online. I don't like it. I don't like it. A lot of questioning his fidelity and his trip to New York. And he's a sales guy in tech. They go on conferences. They go on meetings. They go see clients. His trip to New York for a couple of days in November is not something that makes me jump to he was cheating on his wife. And I think it's gross. I'm not saying that you're doing that particularly. But trust me when I tell you that if they found any evidence of infidelity on either side, that would be the Commonwealth's theory. Because right now their theory is, oh, she just couldn't handle having 3 kids. She just, her nanny, she didn't have a nanny anymore. And she was so controlling and she didn't get the life that she wanted. So she decided to take the lives of her 3 kids so she could be rid of them and then pretend to take her own life just so she could be free and have the life that she lived, the life that she wanted. If there was any shred of evidence insinuating that, don't you think the prosecution would be using the theory that Lindsay found out about this and that she did this as a way to punish him and that she wasn't suffering from a psychotic break because she wanted to punish him? That's what I think. But, again, people are crazy. People on the internet are crazy. Bird Mac Girl, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. I'm not sure if I thanked you before, but thank you again. MF says, spending my birthday in retirement with him is not happy birthday. Happy birthday, MF. Thank you so very much and for your very kind words. We try and provide a safe space. Some people wait 3 days to come in and just rage bait. Mods are on it. Thank you. Marilyn Price says, my baby is a senior at Bama this year. I had PPD with my first. It was a hard 2 days later. My fourth is graduating college. 4th year, $1 million band Roll Tide. Thank you very much, Marilyn, for your 5. And congratulations. Junebug says, appreciate your coverage, especially living in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Junebug. This happens everywhere. It's not just the Commonwealth. It happens to be that we're seeing a lot of cases out of Massachusetts lately because that is where we have been for so long. This is where a majority of my audience is. And they allow cameras in courtrooms. And we have limited coverage because we're limited to what local news channels stream live, and Law and Crime and Court TV are now the same company. And regardless, they're now streaming the same trials. I don't get it. So thank you very much. But I just want to point out that Massachusetts is not the only place where injustices happen. Georgia, Florida, everywhere. Thank you, Babes Mom, for your super sticker. Connie Thomas for being here for 26 months. You're amazing. Kiki St. John, also 26 months. You guys are OGs. Julianne says, I'm very curious if there were any other injuries to the kids besides the obvious. One doctor said he didn't even notice any injuries to Dawson's neck. I found that to be interesting. Elizabeth, thanks for being here for 22 months. And Selena, 24 months. Tina's window says, in case you're demonetized. Peace. Thank you for your 10. Jess says, as a nurse, she knew where her carotid and radial arteries were, but I believe she realized she couldn't go through with it that way, so she jumped, suggesting a fake unaliving is wild. I agree. Maybe she tried and failed, and that's why she went out the window. I don't know if we'll ever know the answer to those questions. Amber Dawn says, no broadcast, no audio in the Sarah Grace Patrick case as of this time. Did an order come down? Trial August 3rd. Sorry to throw another topic in the mix, but my head is rolling. Thanks for your 20. Well, trial August 3rd means they're going to start selecting a jury August 3rd. Maybe it'll change by then, and I'll go look for a court order. Thank you for letting me know, though. Prayers for Lindsay and the entire family, says Laura, Bethany Beach. Mad World says, not asking the date of birth today. Wonder if she got told. No, I mean, one prosecutor was doing it. The other one wasn't. And then nobody was. And then at some point she started doing it to the cops. So I bleeped it out myself. Because come on, man. Can we stipulate that it's the guy? I mean, it's listen, identity theft is a real thing. There are crazy people on the internet. Ask me how I know. Like, there's crazy people on the internet. Sherry Nell Seinfeld says, Melanie, do you know if Lindsay or Kevin Reddington is aware of how many cupcakes and thousands of others support her? I don't know. Do you know how to send letters of support? I don't. I do not have any of that information. I will try. Thanks for tuning in from Canada, Jerry. Mad World says, take it back. She asked his date of birth. Marty says, ICU nurse, we intubate for airway protection if the patient isn't reliably staying awake. Post-tube, we keep sedation until paralytics wear off. Code blue could also mean fast dipping blood pressure, monitor irregularity, etc. By the way, thanks, Mel. Oh, good. So I can't wait to hear from somebody who was in the hospital during the code that can testify as to what that code was, because I'm curious. Hi, Blessed Mom from Texas says, mental health is real. Thank you so much. Look at Just a Girl from the 6 donating, gifting 10 memberships, and to the 10 lucky winners in the chat. I think you're going to like it here. Thank you so much. You're very sweet. Chelsea says, agreed. My 2-year-old and 5-year-old boys are rough on themselves. Thanks for being here for 9 months. Sunshine love. Welcome. CC Headband. Oh, you're very sweet. Thanks for being here for 7 months. She says, my kindness and grace is unmatched. You're very sweet. Erin, thanks for becoming a member. Legacy of Kindness from the UK says, I'm glad to spend the afternoon off with you all. Thanks for being here for 17 months. Year of the Crash Daddy, 17 months also. You guys are like so loyal to me. I love you so much. This case has been the most heartbreaking so far. God bless you, Melanie. Thank you. I'm the problem. It's me from across the pond says, did they get consent from the family to collect and keep her DNA blood, as Lindsay, even out of coma, wouldn't be coherent and need next of kin authority? No, they had a warrant. They had a warrant. Thank you. Carrie, thanks for your 10. I promise this isn't false information. Reddington said in opening that Lindsay did have a DNR. Oh, thank you, Carrie. I thought so. I thought I remembered hearing about that. Tinfoil Hat Society says, why does the judge not tell the jurors not to talk about the case and with each other? He does. I think the judge says that every single time. Didn't he just say it before they left? It's part of what he always does. I thought he just did that. Not to talk to anybody, including other jurors. All right, here's something I want to show you. Thank you to Steve, who sent this to me via Venmo. Remember when Patrick Clancy was on the stand? They were talking about the Google searches or the web history. It was the web history, okay? Steve sent me the archived Wikipedia page, okay, of Tom T. Hall. This is the archived Wikipedia page from October of 2022. Okay, Tom T. Hall, May 25th, 1936 to August 20th of 2021, known professionally as Tom T. Hall and informally nicknamed the Storyteller. So he died August 20th of 2021. If you go down to the section that says death, come with me, if you will, the section that says death, it reads, at age 85, Hall died at his home in Franklin, Tennessee on August 20th of 2021 of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The cause of death went unreleased and had been presumed to be natural until the Williamson County Medical Examiner released his findings in November. Hall left no suicide note, had chlordiazepoxide used to treat anxiety and alcohol withdrawal in his system at the time of death and was rumored to have been suffering from numerous old age-related illnesses at the time. Now look, if you click on here, self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, right? Because maybe you want to learn more about that. Here's where it takes you. It's buffering. Why are you buffering? It's buffering. I want to show you this in real time. Come on, man. Hold on. Let me reload this page and try again. Oh, man. I don't want to do it. Trust me, bro. On this, I want you to see my real-time demonstration. Try it on your end if you can go to the Wayback Machine or the archive page, because now it doesn't want to load. When I did this yesterday, it's not loading. See if we can get it over here. When you click on the gunshot wound, it takes you to the Wikipedia page for suicide methods. It does. I did it yesterday. It worked. Wikipedia does not want to enter the chat. But it does. They had Ian Whiffen adjust it. I was afraid they would do that after I showed it, not before. But for some reason, it doesn't want to load. I'm an Ethernet and everything. So I guess what you're going to have to do, maybe they did remove the hyperlink. That's exactly where it takes you, though, to suicide methods. I'm sorry I can't do the real-time demo for you, but maybe they took it down. Maybe somebody figured it out. That's very curious. Time drifted. I don't know how to do that, Brittany. I mean, I could do that, but I just don't know how. Hold on, Tom T. Hall. Let's try this. Let's go to today's Wikipedia page and see if it's the same. Oops. Death. Yeah, the death page is totally different now. Look, remember what I just showed you? I'm glad I was able to memorialize it on this live stream. The death thing, the death section now just says at age 85, on August 21st, 2021, of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Now there's no hyperlink. The hyperlink is gone. Huh. Curious, curious, curious. That's why Steve sent me the archived page. Click on the footnote reference. 47. It's not there. One of you armchair detectives will figure it out. Somebody says Ian Whiffen manipulating. I wonder if Reddington knows that too. Ian Whiffen manipulating evidence again. Angela Sanders' book says, I want to know who removed the hyperlink and why. And let's do the Wayback Machine to the to the date that it was actually searched. You guys are armchair detectives. I'm sure one of you will do it. I had never seen Lindsay's arraignment before, and this video came up on my feed yesterday on YouTube, and this goes all the way back to February 7th, 2023. She was arraigned from her hospital bed via Zoom, and let's watch it because we have never watched this before on my channel. And we're going to see Jennifer Sprague in court doing the arraignment for the Commonwealth. All right, let me put up a banner. Hold on. This is 2/7/2023. It'll be scrolling along the bottom of the screen if anybody comes in and says, what is this? And here we go.
Ms. Clancy on docket 2359 CR 153, the court has a complaint charging you under 265 section 1, count 1 murder.
Oh, this audio is bad. Let's see if it gets better.
Murder, juvenile 1. Count 2, 265 section 1, murder, juvenile 2. Count 3, 265 15D big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 1. Count 4, 265 15D big A, strangulation, suffocation, juvenile 2. Count 5, 265 15D big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 3. Count 6, 265 15A big A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, two-way exercise rope, juvenile 1. Count 7, assault and battery, 265 15A with a dangerous weapon, two-wit exercise rope, juvenile 2. And count 8, 265 15A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, exercise rope, two-wit juvenile 3. Man,
Lindsay's in her hospital bed with a mask on the Zoom screen.
Not guilty will be entered. Please be advised while this case is pending, any violation of state, federal, local law may result in bail being revoked and be held without bail.
Commonwealth, I'll hear from you first.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth is requesting that the defendant be held without bail.
Okay, hang on. She entered not guilty pleas for all. There were 8 counts originally. I'm going to take this back because I don't know if you guys can even hear this. Can you hear it? The strangulation charges were dropped within the past few weeks as being duplicative. Let me see. Sometimes if I refresh the page, it'll get better. Hold on.
Defendant asked.
Really blows.
Asking what she was going to get.
Okay, that's better, right? All right, here we go. Earbuds are your friend. Sorry about this, but it's not me, it's them. I'm going to start from the top.
Ms. Clancy on docket 2359 CR 153, the court has a complaint charging you under 265 section 1, count 1 murder, juvenile 1. Count 2, 265 section 1, murder, juvenile 2. Count 3, 265 15D big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 1. Count 4, 265 15D big A, strangulation, suffocation, juvenile 2. Count 5, 265 15D big A, strangulation or suffocation, juvenile 3. Count 6, 265 15A big A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, two-way exercise rope, juvenile 1. Count 7, assault and battery, 265 15A with a dangerous weapon, two-wit exercise rope, juvenile 2. And count 8, 265 15A, assault and battery, dangerous weapon, exercise rope, to wit juvenile 3. A plea of not guilty will be entered. Please be advised while this case is pending, any violation of state, federal, or local law may result in bail being revoked and be held without bail.
Commonwealth, I'll hear from you first.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth is requesting that the defendant be held without bail based on the facts of the case, the strength of the Commonwealth's case, and the potential penalty. On Friday, January 27th, 2023, using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily intubated, one of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. The following is a summary of the events that led to the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter Cora to the pediatrician's for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son Dawson to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone Kids Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand. She next went on the CVS website at 4:47 p.m. and then called CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. She spoke to the manager of CVS and asked if they had the Kids Miralax. The manager told her no, but they had other similar medications. According to the manager of CVS, her voice did not sound slurred or impaired in any way. She had no trouble understanding the defendant, and it was a perfectly normal conversation. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." This was an unusual request, as when the family ordered takeout, they'd usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:06 p.m., the husband texted the defendant asking what she was going to get. She responded, "A Mediterranean power bowl." She spelled it correctly, and it was something that was on the menu. He then told her that he wanted the scallop and pork belly risotto. At 5:10 p.m., the defendant called 3V restaurant to place the order. She got the order correct. She gave the correct name for pickup, Patrick. The hostess who took the call said there was nothing out of the ordinary about this call. She was able to understand the defendant, that her voice was not slurred or impaired in any way. At 5:15 p.m., Patrick Clancy headed out the door to run these errands at the defendant's request. As he left, she texted him Pedialyte liquid stool softener. Surveillance footage shows Mr. Clancy at CVS on Summer Street in Kingston at 5:32 p.m. He goes to the medication aisle, the children's medication aisle. Phone records show that he called the defendant at 5:33 p.m. and she did not answer the phone. She then calls him back at 5:34 p.m. and the call lasted 14 seconds. He's there at the store unsure of which medication to get, and she tells him exactly what she wants. He had no issues communicating with her. It was a completely normal call, although he did mention that she seemed like she was in the middle of something. He is on surveillance footage during this time, exiting that aisle and appeared to be using his phone. He then heads to the register, makes his purchase, and leaves the store at 5:37 p.m. He's next seen on footage at 3V restaurant at 5:54 p.m. He picks up the food and he's out of there within a minute. When he arrives home, the first thing he noticed was the silence. He did not see or hear the defendant or the children. He actually called her cell phone at 6:09 p.m. looking for them, and she did not answer. He went to their bedroom on the second floor and the door was locked. He was able to open it, and when he looked inside, he saw blood on the floor in front of a full-length mirror and the window open. He immediately runs downstairs and into the backyard, where he finds the defendant laying on the ground. She appeared to have cuts on her wrists and neck, but he stated to 911 that those wounds were no longer bleeding. She was conscious. He called 911. During this time, he asked the defendant, "What did you do?" She responded to him, "I tried to kill myself and jumped out the window." During the 911 call, Patrick can be heard asking the defendant, "Where are the kids?" He later told police that she replied, "In the basement." So immediately after this happened, she knew what she had done and she knew where the kids were. When EMS arrived, he asked them to stay with her so he could go find his kids. The 911 call kept going. Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the home and heading to the basement. At one point, he calls out, "Guys." He can then be heard screaming in agony and shock as he found his children. His screams seem to get louder and more agonized as the time passes. Cora and Callan were on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, which is to the left when you walk down the stairs, while Dawson was alone on the floor in his father's home office, which is to the right when you go down the stairs. Each child still had the exercise band that was used to strangle them tied around their necks when their father found them. Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids." The police rushed the children to ambulances that brought them to the hospital. And unfortunately, Cora and Dawson were declared dead at the hospital. Callan was med-flighted to Boston Children's Hospital. Medical staff was able to restart his pulse, but not his brain activity. He was placed on life support for several days before passing away. The defendant was transported to South Shore Hospital and then to a Boston area hospital where she remains. She sustained several broken bones in her back and her rib cage. The police were able to find several notebooks in the defendant's home pursuant to a search warrant, and also
She had burst fractures of almost every thoracic vertebrae and also some cervical vertebrae, and fractured every single rib, but she's minimizing it, as you can see. Hear that again.
the defendant was transported to South Shore Hospital and then to a Boston area hospital where she remains. She sustained several broken bones in her back and her rib cage. The police were able to find several notebooks in the defendant's home pursuant to a search warrant, and also notes on her phone that were similar to journal entries. In the months, weeks, and days preceding January 24th, 2023, the defendant meticulously detailed her daily activities, her children's lives, her mental state, and her medication use. Her writing was clear, precise, and articulate. She never indicated that she was hallucinating, delusional, or had disordered thoughts or speech. In all of her writing, she appears to know who she is, where she is, the date, and with whom she's interacted. She wrote a note on her phone the day before killing the children, stating that she had, quote, a touch of postpartum anxiety, end quote, around returning to work. She wrote that her psychiatrist had prescribed medication to help her. The defendant was initially diagnosed, according to her husband, with generalized anxiety disorder. She was then evaluated at the Women and Infant Center for Women's Behavioral Health in Providence, Rhode Island on December 20th, 2022. There, after an evaluation, she was told in the presence of her husband that by psychiatrists that she did not have postpartum depression and that she had no symptoms of postpartum depression. She wrote in her journal that at
She was failed by the system. She was really failed by the system. It's heartbreaking.
times she had suicidal ideation in December of 2022, and she also told her husband that she had suicidal thoughts and on one occasion had thoughts of harming her children. But she did not write or voice those thoughts after a stay at McLean Hospital. When she had those thoughts, She consulted with a psychiatrist and with her husband, and then she committed herself to McLean Hospital on January 1st, 2023. She was discharged by the hospital on January 5th, 2023, and the hospital did not file any paperwork at that time attempting to have her committed as a danger to herself or others. She also kept meticulous and detailed daily medication logs in a diary that she wrote. She detailed that she had difficulties with each of the medications that were prescribed to her. And when she had issues with those medications, she detailed how her doctor had her stop that medication or wean off of it and then try something else. They were trying different medications to see what would work for her, what would benefit her. According to her husband, she was never on more than 4 to 5 medications at one time. And at the time of the murder, she was taking only 3 medications. And he said to the police that she always took the medications as prescribed. After her stay at McLean, the defendant appeared to be getting better, according to her husband. She slept well, interacted with friends and family. She went out with her kids and husband to places like the Kingsbury Club in Duxbury, the Charlie Horse Restaurant, the Museum of Science in Boston, the Cape Codder down the Cape, interacting with her family and the public without any apparent difficulties. She even stayed alone with the children on several occasions without any issues in January of 2023. Her husband asked her in mid-January, "Are you still having suicidal thoughts?" And she said no. The defendant's parents visited the family the weekend of January 21st, 2023. They interacted with the defendant in person. The defendant was able to run errands while her mom watched the children. She texted back and forth with her mother, and there was nothing out of the ordinary about these text messages. In fact, the defendant texted her mother on January 22nd, 2023 to ask how her ride home went. During this conversation, the defendant's mother wrote, quote, "Enjoyed seeing everyone this weekend. Nice to see you doing better," end quote. On the night of the killings, Patrick Clancy was interviewed by the police at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth Hospital. He told the police that the defendant was having one of her best days. She was smiling and happy, and there was no indication that she was going to harm the kids. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder or on the day of the murders themselves.
Oh, okay. She's telling us everything. She's telling us that she believes that if you're suffering from a psychotic break or postpartum psychosis, that you should be acting like a zombie, that you should be acting like a zombie. That's what she's telling us that she believes. She wasn't acting like a zombie or drooling. So, of course, she wasn't suffering from any psychotic break or postpartum psychosis. That's what she just said. And, her parents thought she was doing better and she was in a great mood. It was a great day. Yeah, it was a really great day. A lot of times, if you listen to any forensic psychologists on the internet and other places, they will tell you that the day that someone decides to take their own life is always a great day because they know that the pain is going to soon be over. So I want to hear that again from Jennifer Sprague. Nice to see you're doing better. Apocalyptic style zombie, like Night of the Living Dead zombie, like, I don't know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers type zombie. What type zombie are we talking about here?
The defendant's mother asked how her ride home went. During this conversation, the defendant's mother wrote, quote, "Enjoyed seeing everyone this weekend. Nice to see you doing better," end quote. On the night of the killings, Patrick Clancy was interviewed by the police at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth Hospital. He told the police that the defendant was having one of her best days. She was smiling and happy, and there was no indication that she was going to harm the kids. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder or on the day of the murders themselves. On February 5th, 2023, this past Sunday at 1:35 p.m., while sitting with Dr. Paul Zeisel, the psychologist hired by defense counsel to evaluate her mental state, the defendant used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. She left a voicemail stating that she loved him. Yesterday, on February 6, 2023, at 10:09 a.m., she again used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. This time he answered, and during this call, the defendant stated that after he left the house that night, she killed the kids because she heard a voice and had, quote, "a moment of psychosis," end quote. He asked her what voice.
Oh, now we know what Reddington was getting to. Reddington said, I believe it was in his opening, that she had said she was hearing voices before she ever met with Dr. Zeisel, that they're going to try and tell you, like they did at this arraignment back in February of 2023. She didn't tell anybody she was hearing voices until she met with the defense expert, Dr. Zeisel, who was visiting her in the hospital. Huh. Interesting. This is the arraignment from February 7th, 2023. The jury was sent home for the day after hearing from a couple of medical witnesses. And so we're doing a little bit more of a deeper dive of things that we have not watched yet. If you're ever confused when you come in, I usually have it scrolling on the bottom of the screen, which is exactly what I have doing now. So she made it up because Dr. Zeisel told her to. That's what Sprague wants you to believe. Okay.
Voices she heard, and she said killed the kids because she heard a voice and had, quote, a moment of psychosis, end quote. He asked her what voices she heard, and she said she heard a man's voice telling her to kill the kids and kill herself because it was her last chance. Patrick Clancy told the police the defendant had never heard voices before.
Patrick Clancy told the police that she had never heard voices before. This is all coming from Patrick. I would love to know if Lindsay gave a statement in the hospital to anybody, if it was videotaped. I would love to know that. I don't know that, though. You can see her on the Zoom screen in her hospital bed. She has a mask on.
Also told the police the defendant had never used the word psychosis to him before. The first time she used that word psychosis was when she was with a doctor hired by defense counsel and using his cell phone. The defendant actually wrote a note on her phone on October 25th.
Hold on. Refresh my recollection. I know it's only been a couple of days, but this is a really heavy case and my head is spinning. Did this ADA ask Patrick Clancy any of this stuff when he was on the stand about phone calls that Lindsay made to him from her hospital bed February 5th and 6th using Dr. Zeisel's phone? Because I don't remember her asking Patrick Clancy any of this stuff. But here she is at the arraignment stating it in open court as if it is fact. And then she just tossed in there that also Kevin Reddington was in the room. She didn't ask him any of this, right? I don't know if he refused to prep with her or if when he prepped with her, he said, I never said that. First time she used the word psychosis was when she was with, what, her defense attorney, the doctor? I submit to you that Patrick Clancy didn't know every single thing that was going on in his wife's head. He doesn't know every single medicine that she was taking. He didn't even know every single one of her doctors. And I'm not saying that he should know. I don't think that he, knew every single thing that was going on with her. But let's hear that part again.
Clancy told the police and kill herself because it was her last chance. Patrick Clancy told the police the defendant had never heard voices before. He also told the police the defendant had never used the word psychosis to him before. The first time she used that word psychosis was when she was with a doctor hired by defense counsel and using his cell phone.
Oh, with the doctor hired by defense counsel and using his cell phone, Dr. Zeisel's cell phone. So she's going to tell the jury, maybe, Dr. Zeisel told her to say she was in a psychosis and told her to say that she was hearing voices. I see a lot of stuff on the internet, too, about the fact that Callan was 8 months old. You wouldn't even have postpartum psychosis 8 months after a birth. That's ridiculous. Waiting to hear from the experts on that.
The defendant actually wrote a note on her phone on October 25th, approximately 3 months before this happened, October 25th, 2022. She wrote, quote, I think I sort of resent my other children because they prevent me from treating Cal like my first baby. And I know that's not fair to them. I know that. I was feeling so depressed last evening when Cora and Dawson came home from school. I know it runs off on them. So we had a pretty rough evening. I want to feel love and connection with all of my kids.
Is that your motive? Is that going to be your motive here? We haven't seen that message or that note from her phone pop up in trial yet. I'm sure It will, in addition to some Facebook posts that she may have made on some groups that she was in about postpartum and how Dawson at 19 months old was a very difficult child. This sounds like being a mom. Sounds like being a mom of multiple children and feeling guilty, because mothers always have guilt. They have guilt when they go back to work. They have guilt when they're not home. They have guilt when they're not paying attention or enough attention to all of their children equally. It's hard. But it doesn't mean that she started premeditating to take their lives in October of 2022 because she said she wanted to feel love and connection with all of her kids. To me, that sounds like someone who is going through postpartum, right? That's what it sounds like to me. It's an indicator. And just because that's one of the things you found on her phone doesn't mean she wrote down everything she was feeling on her phone. Will it be allowed in? I don't know. We'll see.
She then wrote that she wants to have more kids eventually.
Well, she said that a little snarkily, didn't she? Huh. She also mentioned that she wants to have more kids eventually. So she couldn't have been suffering from postpartum because she killed the 3 that she had. Sounds like depression, yeah.
The children were killed by ligature strangulation. Ligature strangulation causes the victim to become unconscious anywhere from 10 seconds up to a minute. The more the victim struggles, the longer it takes. After the victim is unconscious, the ligature must be held in place with force, squeezing the neck for up to an additional 4 to 5 minutes to cause death. Therefore, she had to strangle each of them to unconsciousness and then make sure the bands were squeezing their little necks for several minutes. She could have changed her mind at any point during that time and removed those bands from their necks, and she did not. The defendant did not take advantage of the situation when her husband left the home that night. She created the situation, and she used Apple Maps to make sure she would have enough time to strangle each child before her husband returned from where she had sent him. The defendant...
She created the situation, or maybe she Googled it to make sure that she could convince herself that she'd be okay for the time that he was gone. Keep going.
Is a danger to herself and others. She planned these murders, gave herself the time and privacy needed to commit the murders, and then she strangled each child in the place where they should have felt the safest, at home with their mom. She did so with deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. And to supplement what the defense counsel's provided, I have a statement I feel I need to file with the court. And thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Attorney Reddington.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
I also saw some other misinformation on, like, I don't know, it was like a famous channel, like a woman who used to be on television. Now she's got a regular channel. She usually does politics, but she also now has a true crime channel with people that she, I guess, hires to come in and run it. And they were referring to Kevin Reddington as a public defender. He's not a public defender. He's a private attorney. So that is not correct information, just so you know.
Your Honor, my request is that the court not enter what I would suggest is an inhumane order, ordering this woman to be incarcerated. We all know, as people that work in the system, that jails and prisons are woefully deficient in medical care of the most basic type. We all know that this is an individual, as Rhonda knows from Dr. Ricard's letter, who is in dire medical condition. We all know that this woman is, as counsel concedes apparently, a danger to herself. I question whether she would ever make it to a trial. She's suicidal. She's extremely emotional. However, she's unable and has been unable to express any happiness or sadness or cry. And in fact, sometime about a month or two ago, she made the comment, "I just wish that I could feel something." Now, our society fails miserably in treating women with postpartum depression or even postpartum psychosis. It's medicate, medicate, medicate. Throw the pills at you and then see how it works. If it doesn't work, increase the dose or decrease the dose. Then end up trying another combination of medications. We're talking a relatively short period of time from when that baby was born in October up until January, when this incident occurred, Your Honor, that she was on such significant dosage of medication. Your Honor knows that Cora was born in 2017. It was a very
Wait, hold on. He said that Callan was born in October. Callan was born in May. Hold on a second. I don't even know if he had a chance to even meet with her yet, but hold on a second, because you got that wrong. Let me hear that.
another combination of medications. We're talking a relatively short period of time from when that baby was born in October up until January, when this incident occurred, Your Honor, that she was on such significant dosage of medication. Your Honor knows that.
No, it's not Cora. Carol was, he's wrong about the birth, because the birth of Callan was in May. Because he's talking about the medications from October to January. That's when she started the medications. Maybe he'll correct it. Hold on.
Cora was born in 2017. It was a very uneventful, normal pregnancy and delivery. No issues afterwards as far as anxiety. Dawson was born in 2018. Again, it was a normal birth. She had no significant issues as far as anxiety. She did have to have stitches and she was sore, and that was about it. Then, of course, Callan was born. When Callan was born, she ended up becoming depressed, suffered from significant anxiety, as a result of which she consulted with a number of doctors. A number of doctors indicated that she would be able to sleep, she would be able to feel, she would be able to emote once these medications kicked in.
Okay, you're all saying you think it was October that he meant when she started the meds. It sounded to me like he said when this child was born in October to January. So maybe he was saying after he was born in October, that's when she started the medication. Until January when it happened, maybe.
And again, as I say, our medical in our society completely abandons women with this condition. It's easy to say, come on, you have a healthy baby. You have a wonderful husband. You're able to take care of your kids in your home. You're lucky. Take the pills, you'll be okay. Well, they put her on a number of medications. They put her on Prozac, which Your Honor is well aware, is what's known as SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Your Honor knows that along with some of these medications, they have the black box warning from the FDA, may cause suicidal ideation, may cause homicidal ideation. She was on Ativan. She was on Benadryl. And then she ended up being told, okay, because she was complaining about the effects of the Prozac, they said, stop the Prozac, we'll find something else. They put her on Remeron. Then they added on Seroquel. And Your Honor, I attached from David Benjamin, the toxicologist, some papers with the submission. And Your Honor can see the side effects that this Seroquel causes. She was having bad thoughts. She was having worsening depression. Her husband suffered through that phase. Her parents were well aware of the fact that she was suffering from this depression and depressive phase. She wasn't sleeping. She ended up, at some point, Your Honor, December 31st, she was on Seroquel. They told her then the Valium would be stopped. She was a shell of herself, no personality, and went to the doctor again. The doctor again prescribes the Seroquel, and then they took her off the Seroquel. And then she went to the doctor, and at that point, they prescribed trazodone, Ativan, amitriptyline, right up to the very end, when she was so bad that she voluntarily turned herself in, if you will, to the McLean Hospital. We know that that's a psychiatric hospital. She was at the McLean Hospital for a period of about 5 days. Well, at the McLean Hospital, they basically tried to get her off the Seroquel. She wanted to get off the benzodiazepines. She felt that she was being addicted to the benzodiazepines. She then ends up on trazodone, Ativan. Her mood was terrible after she got out of McLean Hospital. She still had the suicidal thoughts. As the government has indicated, she even told her husband that she had suicidal thoughts. You think this is something that she's planning to kill these 3 kids by going and getting a menu, going on to Google Maps or whatever it is, and finding out the distance? When she tells her husband she's having suicidal thoughts, probably a month prior, thoughts of hurting her children, they go to the doctor again, and she's on the medications, on and off, on and off. This is a significant issue between the postpartum depression as well as possibility of postpartum psychosis that is pretty much ignored. But nevertheless, with the overlay of the SSRIs and the history, and Your Honor has some emails and things that people would reach out to me from all over the world, indicating that their daughter had the same problem, that they had the same problem. Your Honor is well aware that many times when people are on Prozac or on SSRIs, workplace violence, homicides, family homicides. This is clearly a tragic, which is a word that's used too much in the criminal justice system, but this really is a tragedy, this case. So we have, obviously, I would suggest, a very good defense for this young woman. She's 32 years of age, Your Honor. She met her husband. He was the love of her life. They got married. Wonderful young couple. And as counsel noted, she always wanted to have kids, always wanted to have babies. She's a nurse. She went to be a midwife because she wanted to help other women that would be in having babies, but didn't want to have all the medications. She was not a big medication person. Your Honor saw, I think there's probably close to 50 letters that have been submitted to you, and I know you read every one of them. The incredible outpouring of support by other nurses that work at Mass General Hospital. The fact that these women have a vigil, that they write the letters to this court imploring you to understand that you sentence, as far as bail issue, the woman before you, who was a beautiful person, who was thoroughly destroyed by these medications. That's for another day, obviously. A bail issue, bail argument. Your Honor is well aware under Commonwealth versus Vasquez at 481 Mass 750, Supreme Judicial Court indicated that this court, or the court, has vested in sound discretion of the bail judge. And the main considerations would be obviously the usual bail considerations: nature and circumstance of the offense, likelihood of success on the defense, roots in the community, and of course, as the in Vasquez case, as well as Commonwealth versus Herring, 489 Mass 569, defendant's risk of flight. So now you have a situation, Your Honor, where this woman has incredible support, as you saw, letters from Foxborough that were signed by about 15 women, letters from her family, friends, letters from people she's known since the 6th grade that have stayed in touch with her. One thing that's a theme that is readily apparent is that Lindsay loved her children, that she would always, one of the letters said, she would always rub her belly, rub her belly. She had pictures of her pregnant standing next to Patrick, hanging on the wall. I was in the house. The house is absolutely loaded with indicia of love for those kids. Photographs on the wall, little drawings, all sorts of games, toys, playpens, bassinets in the living room, in the dining room, the kitchen loaded with toys. Virtually the entire house, including their master bedroom. Toys, things for the kids. This is not a situation, Your Honor, that was planned by any means. This is a situation that clearly was a product of mental illness. Now, under the Vasquez case, one of the issues, as I said, is whether or not there's a risk of flight. Now, I did submit to Your Honor a letter that was written by her physician, her attending surgeon, Nakul Rekha. This doctor was in surgery until 8:30 at night and actually took the time to write this letter for you to review. And I just want to make note that he makes reference to the fact that she is now in her 12th day of hospitalization following admission on January 25 after a 20-foot fall. She suffered, unlike when the government Friday was saying that she can move her legs and she's getting better, she's okay. No, she's not okay at all.
This doctor says it was a 25-foot fall. Prosecutors want us to think it's a 12-foot fall.
He indicates that she suffered several severe spine fractures, including spinal cord transection. You know what that means. At the level of T5, T6. As you know, she had surgery for this from the Orthopedic Spine Surgical Service, who performed a decompression infusion. Unfortunately, she is not expected to recover meaningful function at this point below that level of the spinal cord, which makes her a paraplegic, unable to move her legs or feel sensation from below her, he refers to umbilicus or belly button. He says she has no function below this level. Additionally, less active issues include rib fractures in the chest, both sides, cervical spine fractures, necessitate the wearing of a collar around her neck due to the cervical spine fractures. She's paralyzed. The doctor indicates that she needs significant medical treatment. Doctor recommends that she would be discharged to Spalding Rehab. Now, you know that we have Spalding Rehab. You know that we have the Worcester Hospital. This court is vested under Vasquez with your authority to have this woman not held on bail. Perhaps put a GPS on her, I guess, if someone's concerned that she's going to miraculously recover, which isn't going to happen. As your Honor knows, being a paraplegic, paralyzed, she can't move, can't get off the bed, she can't walk, she can't even go to the bathroom. She has to have 24/7 medical care. Her emotional state is so bad that there is a significant fear of suicide. She has to have someone sit in the room 24/7 to watch her. They don't talk to her. They're not, chatting it up. They just sit there and watch out of that concern that she would commit suicide. So you have a paraplegic who can't walk, who is definitely a danger to herself, and the government wants to put her in where? Framingham State Prison? Plymouth House of Correction? There's no way that any humane person would do that, especially within the structure of our criminal justice system, where a person is presumed innocent. And I'm not suggesting with the facts that the government has read, but she has a good defense. She's got a darn good defense to this case, because that's what happened. And I just want to share with you, Your Honor, one of the things that's interesting. When I was in the House, I came across a drawer that had a bunch of pill bottles in it. And I called the DA and I said, I got these pill bottles, and made arrangements. I'm going to be giving them to them.
So by February 7th of 2023, the date of this arraignment, Kevin Reddington already had his hands on what was in the drawer. The empty pill bottles that he said he's going to hand over to the MSP that they missed or didn't think they were worth collecting. All the most recent prescription bottles that were empty. And he's going to show us that little thing. And we were wondering why it didn't come into evidence, that little green thing. Let's see what it is.
And it's all the Prozac and the Trazodone and all that stuff. But inside the drawer was this little vase. And I didn't know what it was. It just looked like a little vase to me. And my wife said to me, oh, that looks like a wish vase. I said, what's a wish vase? She said, when people write down little wishes and they put little pieces of paper and they put them inside the vase. And
he's doing a real-time demonstration. He's opening up the little wishes in the wish vase. There it is. Dozens of these little papers. He's opening them up like little fortune cookies.
Literally dozens of these little pieces of paper that talk about Lindsay's wish for happiness and health for her children, that she could get pregnant again, that she would be able to be with her children, little Callan, Dawson, Cora, that they would be happy, healthy, and successful. This is not a woman, Your Honor, that had any reason to harm those innocent children.
No wonder they didn't want it in. It didn't come in. Maybe he'll be able to get it in another way.
My request, Your Honor, is that the court would put her on a GPS if you feel that's required, and let the doctors continue to treat her. Let her go to Spalding Rehab. She will sign a waiver that allows probation at any time to speak with her treating physicians or social worker. Find out how she's doing. Does it look as though she's getting close to regaining the ability to walk? Well, she isn't, but nevertheless, they would be able to do that. And then the government would be notified, and they can come back in here again and try to hold her without bail. And my request would then be to Worcester for the emotional and the mental illness aspect. I don't think that it's fair or just or consistent with our duties to each other as human beings to put her in jail. I'm asking that she be allowed to continue with her medical treatment, Your Honor.
Commonwealth.
Your Honor, if I may, I did look into.
I don't know who this judge is. Does anybody know who this judge is? We've never seen him before in any trial. I do not know. Again, mentioning other channels in chat is something that we don't do here. Thank you, though. Court is done for the day. We are watching the arraignment from 2023, and I just did get an archived page from Wikipedia to work. So I'm going to show that to you in a minute.
To medical treatment if she's held. We were under the impression we had received information before that she could move her legs, but then we learned updated medical information that she, for the time being, is paralyzed from the waist down. If she is held, she could go to the Shattuck Hospital. If Shattuck does not have what she needs, she can be sent to another facility, and the corrections officers would go with her there. Shattuck would actually work with her, the doctors at the hospital she's currently at, to determine the best course of treatment. And if whatever she needs, she's going to get. But as defense counsel said, she is a danger to herself and, from the Commonwealth's perspective, others. And just because she is paralyzed does not mean she's not a flight risk. She will be in a wheelchair eventually, and she can be driven somewhere, she can be flown somewhere. It does not mean that she will never be able to leave this area.
Just would like to say that
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I have been, unfortunately, in the Shattuck Hospital. To suggest that she can get, quote, what she needs from the Shattuck Hospital is absolutely not true. The care that she's receiving at the hospital she's at now and the care that she would be receiving at the Spalding Rehab are light years ahead of the dismal, dank conditions of the Shattuck Hospital that we put our prisoners in. It's like something out of Iran, and that's not fair or correct.
Thank you both. Both of you, all of you who appear before me that will be litigating this case are all very well respected. And I'm sure at some point in time in Superior Court, this case will be tried in a very professional and very well by both sides.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is district court.
As counsel stated in Commonwealth v. Vasquez, the Supreme Judicial Court addressed the issue of bail in first-degree murder cases, and Justice Lowy issued a detailed decision about the issues in these types of cases. The court found that a defendant charged with first-degree murder has no right to bail, but may be admitted to bail in the discretion of the judge. The court ruled that a judge should consider the nature and circumstances of the offense and weigh the defendant's risk of flight in light of the strength or weaknesses of the Commonwealth's case and the potential penalty of a sentence to life in prison. The court further noted that appropriate considerations for a judge would include the defendant's family ties, financial resources, length of residence in the community, character, mental condition, record of conviction, the appearances at court proceedings, or any previous flight to avoid prosecution or failure to appear at any court proceeding.
Thank you. The judge's name is Jack Canavan. Thanks, chat. You guys know everything.
It is important to note that the purpose of bail is not to impose punishment. The court has conducted a careful review of the details of the case and the defendant's history. The court's reviewed the filings that have been made, as well as letters submitted by counsel for the defendant and the update that was received from her attending trauma surgeon. The factual allegations in this case are both horrific and tragic. The potential penalty faced by the defendant, if convicted, is severe. The defendant has no criminal history. She does not even have a driving record. There is no evidence of any history of any abusive behavior by the defendant. The defendant was raised in New England and has extensive ties to the local area. She has an extremely supportive family. She had worked for several years in a local hospital, and a number of co-workers have written letters in support of the defendant and her character. She's described in these letters as an exemplary worker, colleague, and friend. In the letter submitted by her attending trauma surgeon, she has extensive injuries that will require long-term inpatient rehabilitation. Weighing what the doctor has written and the facts from the defendant's current condition, the court finds that there is minimal risk of flight given the defendant's circumstances. The court is going to make the following order on bail. The defendant shall remain in her current hospital until medically cleared to be moved to a new facility. As a condition of bail, the defendant is ordered not to leave the hospital until discharged to a new facility. The defendant shall provide notice to probation 48 hours in advance of any transfer to a different facility. Based on the letter of the doctor, it would appear likely that she would be sent from the hospital setting to a 24/7 rehabilitation facility, like the Spalding Rehab. As a condition of bail, if sent to a 24/7 rehabilitation facility, she is ordered to remain in that facility, with the exception of if she needed to be transported to a different medical facility or a hospital for an additional MRI or something like that. The defendant shall continue to receive mental health treatment while hospitalized and sign releases for probation to monitor compliance with counseling. In the event that the defendant were to complete services at a 24/7 rehab and complete that care, the court would hold a further hearing as to whether or not the defendant were in need of further mental health treatment that would need to be done in an inpatient setting, or whether or not the defendant's mental health care could be provided in a residential setting. The court would direct court clinician, court doctor, to consult with the defendant's mental health providers to conduct this evaluation at the appropriate time in the future. If the defendant were in a position that she was going to be discharged to a residential setting, both sides would have the opportunity to be heard further. Any discharge in a residential setting, the defendant would be subject to home confinement with appropriate electronic monitoring to monitor home detention. There would be exclusions that would be available if the defendant needed to attend medical or rehabilitation appointments, counseling sessions, or religious worship sessions. The court would have probation visit any proposed residential setting prior to the defendant being discharged to that type of a setting to ensure that such setting was appropriate and safe. The defendant is ordered to surrender her passport to probation. In the event that the defendant does not have a passport, she is prohibited from applying for a passport. The court is not going to set any monetary bail at this time.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know if any monetary bail was ever set. And it's my understanding that she's been, after her discharge from the hospital she was in, I think it was Brigham's, right? That she was released to Tewksbury State Hospital, which is where she remains. Do I need to tell everybody that Jack is a nickname for John? So if he's listed on the court website as John Canavan, it may be that people who know him call him Jack. Remember Jack Kennedy? People will argue about anything in the chat. Okay. Okay, that was the arraignment. Now we're going to go back to the Tom Hall Wikipedia page. This is the Tom Hall Wikipedia page from July of 2022 and August of 2022. Okay, we're going to go back here, and it says right here that this is what it is. Wikipedia has a list of all the revisions that were ever made. Okay, so here it is. We go down to the death section. This is the archive page. And here, when we go to, at age 85, Hall died in his home in Franklin, Tennessee, August 20th, 2021, of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. When we click on gunshot wound to the head, look what pops up. Suicide methods. There it is. Bam, in real time. There it is. That is the archive page from July and August of 2022, which is exactly the time that I believe the prosecution said that this Wikipedia search into suicide methods, although she did say in her opening, I think she said she searched ways to kill. That's what I think she said. Okay. I'm going to show you that one more time. This is the archived Wikipedia page of Tom T. Hall, difference between revisions. And this is the revision as of 14/20, 3rd of July, 2022. And the revision as of 13/42, 26th of August, 2022. I seem to remember that the Google search of these ways to kill was in August. I think it was before the 26th. So it's in between these two time periods. Regardless, here's what it is. Patrick Clancy said, yes, I did Google Tom Hall. I remember I did. He's a musician. He was born in 1936. He died August 20th of 2021. And when you go down to his death circumstances, if you weren't here last time, it didn't work last time. I got it to work now. Death at age 85. He died at his home in Franklin, Tennessee, August 20th, 2021 of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. So you click on this self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. You think maybe you're going to find out more about the exact circumstances of his death. But instead, when you click on it, it goes to suicide methods. There it is. There it is. He was questioned about that by Kevin Reddington. I can't wait to see what Ian Whiffen testifies to. He's coming in for the Commonwealth to talk about these Google searches. And there it is. In real time. This is my falling into rabbit holes in real time. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Is the bridge named? I don't know. I didn't have the chance to deep dive into it, but you guys can if you want to. I'm sure somebody will. I'm sure somebody will. So seems likely that Patrick Clancy is the one who clicked on that hyperlink and up came suicide methods. Everything is not always how it seems, you guys. Everything is not always how it seems. Mr. Gross Battles, thank you, 320 says, Mama 4, I had 2 singletons and 1618 Years ago, hardly knew I was pregnant. Then I was shocked with a set of twins in 2022. I also must say, the twin moms are the strongest women on the planet. We are. A twin pregnancy is a whole other level. It is. Thank you. Blue Dragonfly, psych, thank you for your deuce. Not really sure what you're apologizing for, but I'll allow it. Lorelei says, think that the meds in the drawer were ignored by the DA to reduce the amount taken. I think all of those were empty. I remember one by one as Kevin Reddington slammed them onto the ledge there. Elaine, thank you very much for your generous 100 through Venmo. Says, thanks for your impassioned coverage of this heartbreaking case. You're amazing. Betsy, XO, love you, girl. Hang on, I got more things to show you because we're not done yet because there's always more. Just another thank you too. Lupus Lady bought me 5 matcha lattes. You're amazing. Says, thanks for all you do, especially during trials like this. You're amazing. Thank you very much. Here's something I want to show you. One of you's amazing guys sent me on TikTok. This is a woman who worked at McLean for 8 years, not exactly at the time that Lindsay Clancy was there, but she's got a story to tell. I reached out to her to see if I can get her on the show. If anybody knows her, let me know. She just goes by Emily BPD and CPT SD on TikTok. But let's listen to what she's got to say, because a lot of the stuff that the Commonwealth said in opening, she's mad about it. She's mad about it. So mad about it, in fact, that she made a video to tell us more. So let's let Emily tell us more. Okay. And here she is. The caption says, I'm a Massachusetts social worker and worked at the McLean inpatient unit Lindsay Clancy was on for 8 years. Let's talk about the prosecution's lies.
And I also worked on the exact inpatient unit at McLean for nearly 8 years that Lindsay Clancy was a patient at. Very important. I was not there when she was there, but I literally worked there for 8 years. We need to correct the misinformation that this prosecutor is saying about McLean and what the stay there is like. So I'm going to break down everything for you and tell you the truth. Let's preface this with identifying what the prosecutor's approach is with the McLean stay in particular. The prosecution is trying to say that if Lindsay really wanted to get better, why didn't she engage in treatment more? And then the prosecutor specifically talks about McLean, what's offered there, and identifies things that Lindsay did not participate in. And we need to correct that. Let me tell you how it actually works. So the first thing the prosecution brings up with Patrick Clancy is that he has stated that he felt like she didn't really get any treatment while she was at McLean. And one of the things that he was under the impression of was that she didn't really see a doctor while she was there. Now, the prosecutor then says to him, well, are you aware she actually saw a doctor each day and she saw a resident? Are you aware of that? And he says, no, I wasn't under that impression. Let me tell you exactly why that is. In general, there are around 23 patients on the unit at a time. And because of that, there are usually around 4 to 5 physicians in charge, we call them, 4 to 5 psychiatrists who split up the patients, so that there's not just one doctor seeing 23 patients. Each doctor has usually around 5 to 6. They vary a little bit, but they are limited. And that 23 patient population is divided up and it's split amongst doctors. When a patient is admitted to the unit, they are specifically assigned 2 clinicians. One is a psychiatrist and the second is the social worker. You are literally told as a patient, this is your treatment team. This is your doctor. This is your social worker. With that being said, legally, every patient needs to be seen at least once a day by a doctor. So on the weekends and on the holidays, when the physicians in charge, the regular physicians who are working there, are off because they work weekday hours, on the weekends and on holidays, the patients still need to be seen by a doctor. How that works is that there is one doctor who comes on the weekend and holidays, and he or she sees.
Are you listening? Are you listening? There is one doctor that comes in on the holidays and weekends. Do you remember when Lindsay went into McLean? Wasn't it New Year's Day over a weekend? Listen to what she's saying.
every single patient on the unit, okay? And if you think about it, there's a reason that the doctors who are there during the week are only assigned 4 to 5 patients, because you cannot spend a long amount of time as a doctor with 23 different patients. So the job of the weekend doctor, as we call them, the holiday doctor, is literally to just go quickly check in with every patient. It is not a lengthy meeting by any means. So this idea of the prosecution saying, well, she actually did see a doctor, so that was kind of a lie. She saw a doctor. She didn't see her doctor. Now, moving on to the next part. The prosecutor also says to Patrick Clancy, well, are you aware that there is actually one-on-one therapy offered on the unit every day? This is what really pissed me off. There is absolutely no one-on-one therapy offered on that unit. What this prosecutor is referring to is what we literally call check-ins. And you know who does those?
Oh, what's that? There's no one-on-one therapy in that unit at all? She's talking about check-ins. Let her tell you what check-ins means. Here it is.
Check-ins, it is unlicensed individuals. This is a job where you only have to have a high school degree to get it. And I can say this because I did that job for 5 years. I was the clinician who was performing one-on-one therapy in her mind. No, I was doing check-ins. I did that job. So I promise you, this was not one-on-one therapy. I love my coworkers, and this is no disrespect to them. We were not people who were licensed or qualified in any way to give therapy, and we did not. And within these check-ins, I'm going to tell you what the conversations are. How's your day? How'd you sleep? Have you been able to eat today? Have you been able to go to groups? What's your treatment plan? Have you talked to your family? What's your doctor saying? There are brief questions at the end where we say, are you feeling safe? They aren't safety assessments, let's be honest. You do check that little box, but I'm telling you, that's the line of questioning. It is not one-on-one therapy. Now let's talk about something the prosecutor brought up today. She brings up and tells Patrick Clancy, are you aware that, Lindsay was also checked on every 15 minutes by staff? Let me tell you what she's referring to. We literally call this checks, okay? And it's when we would go around on the unit every 15 minutes, staff has to go around the unit. And you know what your job is on 15-minute checks? You make sure everybody's alive. You make sure everybody's not, people try to commit suicide on the unit. And the 15-minute checks is not conversations. We're going around and we're literally checking off on a board. We saw this person. You put a check. You put an A if they're in bed awake, and you put an S if they're asleep, and you put an O if they're off the unit. That's it.
Are you picking up what she's laying down here? I'm going to link this TikTok in the show notes below for you.
You're just going around. This isn't like check-ins. You're just visually putting eyes on them to legally indicate that they are okay. But this is not a check-in. It's just, hello, I see you. So another thing the prosecutor brings up today, and again, I think this is from the idea of clearly Lindsay was well enough. She brings up how, are you aware that Lindsay was granted permission to, go off the unit, go outside, right? And Patrick's like, well, yeah, I was aware, she went for a walk, and the prosecutor is kind of like, so she was allowed to go out. And again, I think she's trying to be like, if she was allowed to go outside, clearly she was okay. And I'm going to tell you guys something. 75% of the patients who are admitted to the unit within 2 days get granted that permission. Sometimes it's the day they get there. The only patients who don't get granted that permission, and especially quickly, are the ones who are acute safety concerns. Those are patients who can't be trusted, in a sense, to not try to harm themselves if they leave the unit. There are patients who are flight risks, and they can't be granted the permission to go off the unit. So this idea of well, Lindsay was granted that permission, it really doesn't have much meaning, because if I'm being honest, everybody is granted that position unless you are really actively doing something to yourself. So this isn't that deep. Now the prosecution starts talking about the discharge piece at McLean, and it does sound like Lindsay asked to be discharged. And the obvious thing to think about is why would she want to stay on the unit any longer when she's not getting any help? It is logical to ask to be discharged. And she was discharged, she wanted to go to one of her children's birthday parties. And her asking to discharge to be able to go to her kid's birthday is a completely normal thing that people get discharged for. Birthdays, graduations, funerals, bigger events that people want to be a part of, that is good for them to be a part of. If the person is deemed safe, which I'll get back to, the team is usually happy to allow that. So her asking to be discharged for her kid's birthday is not abnormal. It's very normal. And I also think it is indicative of her wanting to be a mom, which, you know, is the opposite of what this prosecution is trying to say. All right, now my last and most important part. Even though Lindsay asked for discharge and it was granted, McLean failed her. These outpatient, I'm sorry, Dr. Jennifer Tufts. I mean,
She's going to call her out. She's going to call her out. June Mom says, Melanie Little, I love your channel, but anytime somebody says, I love your channel, but it's not always a good thing. There's usually a skeleton staff in the medical field. I'm aware of that. But I do understand. I also think there was definitely a disconnect in Lindsay's mental health. I understand too. But if someone is in crisis and they're going to walk out in 3 days if they don't see a doctor, that is a problem. And it's not an excuse that every medical facility has a skeleton staff on the weekends, because guess what? Crisis does not know holidays from regular days or weekends from regular days. That's not an excuse. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Just not. I don't think that's an excuse. I don't care. Guess what? You know who cares? Not me. Not me. There needs to be people in place for weekends and holidays when someone is checking themselves in, by the way, because of suicidal ideations and intrusive thoughts about harming her children. I don't care. What are you talking about? Stop. What is this? Emily's trying to join. She wants to join you. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a message from Emily. Thank you, though, with your all caps message. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop it. That's called spamming the chat. We don't do that here. Stop it. Again, Maria, what is your deal, man? She's putting Dr. Tufts on blast. Listen to this. I don't think she works there anymore. She doesn't care. She's on a live right now. That's great. I'm on a live right now, too. How am I going to, you want me to watch her live right now? What are you doing? The chat is off the rails today. My God.
You know, is the opposite of what this prosecution is trying to say. All right, now my last and most important part. Even though Lindsay asked for discharge and it was granted, McLean failed her. These outpatient, I'm sorry, Dr. Jennifer Tufts.
Emily C. I don't even know who you're talking about. Who are you talking about? Emily C? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think that woman needs to lose her license. I'm going to be straight up. McLean needs to be held accountable. They did clearly not do their proper assessment when they granted her discharge. I'm going to be straight up, okay? And I'm going to say that as somebody who's worked on that unit and had to approve discharge. You are a well-trained mental health professional. You know when you are assessing a woman with postpartum mental health, you need to be doing a damn good job of making sure that she's not going to go hurt her kids because of where she's at in her mental health. And I don't think McLean did a proper assessment. I don't think they asked any questions about the kids. A lot of times when you're discharging from this unit, it's about, are you going to go hurt yourself? And she was suicidal. So she should have had a suicide assessment. But knowing that this is postpartum, I do believe that McLean failed her
Emily,
by
the
not
girl
doing
in the
a better
video?
assessment about where she was at with her kids. I don't care that I worked there.
There's a lot of Emily's. I don't know who you're talking about. Emily Baker, Emily C. This Emily. I sent her an email.
I'm a
so-
Massachusetts social worker, and this comment.
Oh, no,
I'm
it
a
went right back to the beginning.
Massachusetts social worker, and
I'll have her on when I have the opportunity to have her on. That time is not right
I'm a
exactly
Massachusetts
now
social-
because I
I'm a
don't have a lot of
Massachusetts
time
social-
left. But I did send her an email. And if she wants to reach out to me, if that's the Emily that you're talking about, she has an email from me in her inbox. Okay. The full moon was 2 days ago.
I'm a Massachusetts
And so
social
now we're
worker.
going to have to start all the way at the beginning again. Hold on. Unless there's a way to fast forward this on the computer, because I usually
And I
go to
also
TikTok
worked
on my phone. Hold on.
on the exact inpatient unit at McLean.
Oh, wait. I think I can. Where were we on this, though?
Was granted permission to, you know, go off the unit, like go outside, right? And Patrick's like, well, yeah, I was aware, like she went for a walk. To be able to go to her kid's birthday is a completely normal thing that people get discharged for. Birthdays, graduations, funerals, bigger events that people want to be a part of, that is good for them to be a part of, if the person is deemed safe, which I'll get back to, the team is usually happy to allow that. So her asking to be discharged for her kid's birthday is not abnormal. It's very normal. And I also think it is indicative of her wanting to be a mom, which, you know, is the opposite of what this prosecution is trying to say. All right, now my last and most important part. Even though Lindsay asked for discharge and it was granted, McLean failed her. These outpatient, I'm sorry, Dr. Jennifer Tufts. I mean, I'll say, we know the name.
That's where we
I
were.
think that woman needs to lose her license. I'm going to be straight up. McLean needs to be held accountable. They did clearly not do their proper assessment when they granted her discharge. I'm going to be straight up, okay? And I'm going to say that as somebody who's worked on that unit and had to approve discharge. You are a well-trained mental health professional. You know when you are assessing a woman with postpartum mental health, you need to be doing a damn good job of making sure that she's not going to go hurt her kids because of where she's at in her mental health. And I don't think McLean did a proper assessment. I don't think they asked any questions about the kids. A lot of times when you're discharging from this unit, it's about, are you going to go hurt yourself? And she was suicidal. So she should have had a suicide assessment. But knowing that this is postpartum, I do believe that McLean failed her by not doing a better assessment about where she was at with her kids. I don't care that I worked there. I don't care that I respect the hospital. I respect a lot of the clinicians there, but no program is immune from clinicians who aren't doing their job properly. And her asking to discharge, it's on the clinicians. They let her go. We are held to a specific criteria to let patients go. They failed her. I know this is a long ass video, but I felt it important to give like literally firsthand perspective. I'm watching this case, listening to this prosecutor just lie and gaslight. And I'm like, I'm enraged at the lies that you're telling. I mean, in general, but specifically at McLean, I'm like, I know that what you're saying isn't fucking true because I did it. I was there for 8 years on that exact unit. Like I said, how are there 2 female prosecutors prosecuting this case? It's beyond me. It's sickening. It's
No, she's not on the witness list. She's not a witness. She is a girl who's a social worker. I can say she's a girl because she's hell a lot younger than I am. Who's a social worker who worked at McLean for 8 years, not at the same time that Lindsay Clancy was there, but she's telling us everything about how it worked. And I'm sharing it with you because it resonated with me when somebody sent it to me yesterday.
This woman doesn't want to be alive. And all that this case is doing is further traumatizing. If you guys don't care about Lindsay, fine. I do, but let's look at the other people. This is traumatizing Patrick Clancy further. This is traumatizing an entire jury. Can you imagine? These are just civilians doing their, civilian duties and doing jury duty. And there's such a thing as vicarious trauma. And that's when you're traumatized by somebody else's trauma. And this shit is dark. The prosecutors need to show these onesies, and we know the kids are not here anymore. All it is like torturing, this family over and over again. And I think it's abomination. I think it is awful. And I don't know how these prosecutors sleep at night, if I'm honest. The only positive reframe I can think is that this better be a marker in history. Shit needs to change with women's mental health. And I think everybody's waking up with this. I know there's a lot of people who are just kind of assholes and they're just like, she's a monster. But I've seen a lot of a switch of people being like, what the fuck? So,
well, I usually don't curse on the channel, so I didn't give you a language warning.
Need to be held responsible. It's them at the end of the day, and this is a fucking tragedy.
All right.
I'm a Massachusetts social worker, and
that's
also,
it. Her name is. Oops. Let's see.
I'm a Massachusetts social.
I don't really use TikTok very much. So hang on.
I'm a Massachusetts social.
I'll link it below. Hold on. Her name is Emily.
I'm a Massachusetts social worker, and I also worked
Emily
on the exact
BPD
inpatient
and
unit at McLean for nearly
CPTSD
8
therapist.
years that Lindsay Clancy was a patient at.
Okay. And I thought that was very interesting. Very interesting. Stop. Okay. Let's say you. Angela, thanks for covering. I couldn't watch it anywhere else. Love you with all my heart. Thank you so much for your 20. She says, grab a coffee or 2 on me. And then Angela Sanders Books gifted 5 memberships because she's awesome. You guys rock. Ashley, thanks for becoming a member. Ashley, also thank you for tuning in from Canada and for your super sticker. Lisa Lott's missing robe. Oh, well done on the username. Well done. Says, I used to work at New Bedford Crisis, and she's 100% right. I ran groups, check-ins, etc., with no clinical background. All they did was color and play with clay and go on walks. If it's the weekend, no doctors are there. something needs to change, right? Something needs to change because people go into crisis on the weekends. Okay? Just is. Thank you for your 10. Resisting arrest says, I love it here. Thanks for everything you do for us. Thanks for being here for 19 months. Participating anonymously. Thank you for your 10. As a former patient at McLean Hospital who suffered from postpartum depression, what this TikTok creator is saying is 100% true. I would go days without seeing a doctor. Oh, man. I'm sorry. You know what? If this was SVU and Olivia Benson was on the case, and Elliot Stabler, and they had, I don't know, pick your favorite DA from all time at SVU. Carisi's not my favorite, but they would figure out a way to bring criminal charges against McLean because that's what they do on TV. That's what they do in the Dick Wolf universe, right? They would find a way. They always find a way. They always find a way to get it done. It's not going to be done here. I don't know that it has anything to do with insurance. Patrick said he would have paid everything. He would have paid anything. Okay, I don't know anything about Courtney Clenny right now. So if you want to come in and break news, I can't talk about it because I don't know anything about it. So if that's what you want to go watch right now is breaking news, go do it. Literally on my last nerd today. I don't know what happened to just like common courtesy. I don't know. This is an important case, but it seems like a lot of people in the chat want to talk about anything but the case. June Mom, thank you for your 50. Agree. I'm not making excuses. I was just making an observation. It happens too often in the medical field. Have some experience for this from my autistic son who suffers from seizures. Someone needs to be an advocate for someone going through a crisis. 100%. I agree with you. Thank you very much for your very generous super chat. And I'm sorry that happened to you. And hopefully it doesn't happen. It shouldn't. I mean, there needs to be more done. There needs to be a doctor on call. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. I'm not in the medical field. Huma says, I've never been so upset at the DA, and while watching a trial, this makes me even more upset. Thank you very much for tuning in from across the pond. It's a hard case to watch, but it's an important case to watch. And I wasn't going to cover it initially, gavel to gavel. I was going to cover select portions like openings, closings, and experts. But the more that you guys are interested in it, the more I will continue to cover it. But the chat needs to get off the rails because I don't know if I can handle it. And I don't really watch it during the chat, except for when I get distracted by, things like as such, all caps and stuff like that. One other thing that I was going to show you is the Zillow listing for the house. So that we know that the jury went on a view today. But we were not there with them on that view. So I'm going to show you, that Zillow is my corn. Here is the house. I'm not going to say the address out loud. And they've already said it in court. If you really want to find it, you can. But, it's just going to be on the Massachusetts murder house tour. People go and they go to 34 Fairview. And then they're going to go to Duxbury and they're going to drive by this house too. And nobody needs that. In fact, the person who bought this is a lawyer. Bought the house and opposed the motion for a view, saying that it would put him and his family, be a hardship for them to come and traipse through the house. I don't like it either. Let's look at the photos. There's 21 photos. Here it is, the Clancy house in Duxbury. I don't know when it was sold. Sometimes you can see it on Zillow, but it didn't stick out to me. So here's some pictures of the outside of the house. Here's a picture of the kitchen. Another view of the kitchen. Here's a porch. The dining room. Remember in the photos they showed in court, the dining room was made into a toy room. And it had easels and artwork all over. And it was full of kids' things. Living room. I think there were toys everywhere. This looks like what is the master bedroom because I recognize the window that Lindsay went out of. This looks like a child's room. Another child's room. Back porch. Here's a rear view of the house with another part of the back porch. There's like a big slate, or maybe some sort of paver porch out there. And then you can see in the distance, the bedroom window all the way on the right-hand side of the back of the house. That is the window that Lindsay went out of. Here's a better view of the back of the house. And it's this window right here, the third window on the right on the second floor. And that's all I got for you from Zillow. It's beautiful. That's not how it was before this happened. I didn't say it was. This is, I'm assuming, when the house went on the market after this happened. And I'm just showing you the layout. All right, I think I'm going to sign off right now. I think I'm going to sign off. All right, you guys, I love you so much. I love you so much, but I can only take so much. And I think I'm at that point right now. Thank you very much. Nurse Not Lawyer got the tallow, the whipped tallow. It's amazeballs sauce. I know. Thanks for being for 18 months. I'm sure something. Run, sis, run. Thanks, according to Woo. Isaac, the burner. Thanks for your 10. Says I read a ton of psych records in mass, and they never seem to communicate with the outpatient providers and re-diagnose a lot. It's so upsetting. Overprescribing in this case, as you know, overprescribing is the thing. Thank you, Maria, for your super sticker. I love you guys with all my heart. If I don't see you soon, I'm going to die. It is Friday, and always things drop on Friday. So maybe we can cover, another case later or something else other than this one, because this is exactly one of the reasons why I was not going to do this gavel to gavel, not just because it is so heavy. And I typically don't like to do things involving kids because I have 5 of my own, and it breaks my heart. Not even realizing that the trolls were going to be out in full force, but of course they are. Of course. Why would I think any differently? I mean, waiting 3 days to subscribe to my channel to get into the chat to say some hateful, vitriolic stuff is just a wild way to live. It's a wild way to live. Thanks for being here, Age of Nefarious, for 14 months. I love you guys so much. Please hit the like button on your way out if you didn't hit it already. If you're on the replay, please hit it as well. Another short day in court. Court will resume on Monday morning at 9 a.m. And well, I think I'll be here. We'll see. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. For the love of everything holy, don't believe everything you read on the internet. And just, I don't know, be kind. And think about before you hit send on things, because families often do go back and watch the chat and read the comments. Peace out, you guys. Whew.